Meow Quinnan. He's a real jerky. Oh yeah, I used to know Quinnan. He's a real jerky.
Hey. Oh, shit. The facade. All right, the facade's back. Okay. I'm turning down the volume here because my classes start tomorrow. And I am supposed to be done with this book, which is not all that hard. But I'm not done with the book. So we're going to play Wine League. And I'm not kidding. I have to read like 50 pages of this, and you're going to hold me accountable. So you're going to learn about wine with me. We're starting at chapter 10, Chardonnay. Also, high lethal note. We're gonna learn about Chardonnay today, and let me give you a preview of what we're learning about in these 60 pages. Chardonnay and the important regions for Chardonnay, of which there are many. Sauvignon Blanc, Pinot Grigio and Pinot Gris, same grape, different place. Gewürztraminer, Viognier, and Albarino. Merlot and regions. Cabernet Sauvignon and regions. And probably some labeling stuff. Syrah and Shiraz, again, same grape, different locations. Gamay, which is one that is not super common in the U.S. Grenache Garnacha, same grape, different locations. Tempranillo, Carmenere, Malbec, and Pinotage. Cortese, Garganega, Verdicchio, and Fiano. Nebbiolo, Barbera, and Corvina. And Sangiovese and Montepulciano. And then we're going to learn about sparkling wines and fortified wines, which are pretty specific in terms of production. And that's everything. So actually, you guys are going to learn about some pretty fun stuff here. This is... Chardonnay is going to be like your most common grape. Sauvignon Blanc is pretty common. Syrah is pretty common, right? But some of these are not going to be very common. So like the first couple of chapters, I think you're going to be like, yeah, I know what this is. And then we're going to get into like Tempranillo. And you're going to be like, excuse me? Maybe you know Tempranillo. I don't know. Letha Note, are you a big wine drinker? I don't know if you're a wine drinker. Anyway, I'm going to just launch into it because I have to read this and you're going to hold me accountable. Chardonnay is a white grape variety that is prized for its ability to produce. Yeah, what's up? Oh, well then you're going to know a bunch about wine before you can ever drink it, which is also useful. I took bartending school at 18. I think it's one of my favorite things that I ever did before I turned 21. Knowing about wine can make drinking wine way more fun. So, obviously you don't drink wine yet, legally speaking. But you're going to learn today. You're going to learn some things. Okay? Okay. Chardonnay is a white grape variety that's prized for its ability to produce outstanding quality wines in cool, moderate, and warm climates. Produces a broad range of dry white wines from inexpensive high-volume brands to premium quality wines that can evolve for years in the bottle. Legally, I don't care for wine, but I do like mead. Yeah. Totally. I'm actually the opposite way. I like wine a lot more than I like mead. There are occasional meads that I come across that are quite good, but it almost always has to have fruit in it that has like a tartness to counterbalance, like an acidity to counterbalance the amount of sweet. Because like, fuck, mead is sweet if it's just honey. That's a me thing. I also, I love sweets. I do not necessarily love sweet drinks all the time. That's not true, actually. I'm literally drinking caramel syrup drip coffee right now. So that I'm full of shit. Don't listen to me. Anywho. So, can produce a broad range of dry white wines from inexpensive high volume brands to premium quality wines that can evolve for years in the bottle. The characteristics of Chardonnay, it had a cinnamon mead that was really good around Christmas. Oh, I bet. Especially like you could have that maybe like alongside Glühwein. Never mind. We shouldn't be talking about this. You didn't have a cinnamon mead. You had a non-alcoholic honey drink. Anywho. Right. The characteristics of Chardonnay. The flavors that can be found in Chardonnay wines are many and varied. Its primary fruit aromas and the degree of alcohol, body, and acidity are all greatly affected by the climate in which the grapes are grown. A typical cool climate Chardonnay has high acidity, light to medium body, and flavors of green fruits, apple, pear, citrus fruits, lemon, and wet stones. Wet stones, a tea, if you will. A typical moderate climate Chardonnay has medium to high acidity, medium to full body, and flavors of lemon, stone fruits like peach, and sometimes tropical fruit like melon. A typical warm climate Chardonnay is full-bodied, medium in acidity, and dominated by flavors of stone fruit like peach, and tropical fruit, pineapple, and banana. Winemaking and maturation options. Acidification, the process of adding extra acid during winemaking, is commonplace for many warm climate Chardonnays to balance the alcohol and body of the wine. See Chapter 5, we won't be doing that, for more information on wine adjustments. Alongside its very varied primary fruit flavors, it is common to taste secondary flavors from various winemaking processes in wines made from Chardonnay. Malolactic conversion can add dairy flavors, butter and cream, and soften harsh acids. Lees contact during maturation can add body and flavors of bread and biscuit. Oak barrel fermentation and or maturation is also commonly used to add body and flavors, smoke, vanilla, and coconut. Some winemakers may use oak chips or staves to impart these flavors. They are less expensive than new oak barrels. Cheap. Anyway. It is important to note that the above methods are all optional. Strong secondary flavors can easily overwhelm lightly flavored wines. Only wines of sufficient flavor intensity will benefit from these winemaking processes. Some producers prefer not to add secondary flavors to their Chardonnay. They use inert vessels and may avoid malolactic conversion and or lees contact. Wines made without oak treatment may be labeled unoaked or unwooded to communicate this to the consumer. Very good or outstanding quality Chardonnays can age in the bottle for years, gathering complex tertiary flavors like hazelnut and mushroom in a white wine, just to be clear. Important regions for Chardonnay. Burgundy, France. Chardonnay is the main white grape variety of the Burgundy region. Burgundy stretches southwards from the cool vineyards of Chablis in the north, through the Côte d'Or, where the climate becomes moderate, to the Mâconnais, that's got to be wrong, in the south. Bourgogne, AOC. The wines labeled under this regional appellation can be made from grapes grown anywhere in Burgundy, are usually simple with apple and lemon characteristics and high acidity. Chablis, AOC. Chablis is a village appellation. The cool climate here produces dry, light to medium-bodied wines with high acidity and flavors of apple, lemon, and wet stones. The best vineyards, labeled Premier Cru or Grand Cru, are typically situated on hillsides that face south or southwest. This increases sun exposure and helps to produce riper grapes, which results in more flavorful and complex wines. Frost is a key concern in this cool region and can limit the amount of Chablis produced each year. With very few exceptions, oak flavors are not detectable in wines from Chablis. Producers typically prefer to preserve the delicacy of the cool climate fruit flavors by fermenting in inert vessels, like stainless steel or sometimes concrete. Côte d'Or. The climate of the Côte d'Or is moderate, and the wines have more body and riper fruit flavors, peach and melon, that are commonly found in Chablis. Chardonnay production is focused on the area to the south of the town of Bon, known as the Côte de Bon. The villages of Meursault, AOC, and Pouligny-Montrachet, AOC, are famous for producing very good and outstanding quality Chardonnays. Complexity and body are added by fermenting and or maturing the wines in oak barrels and aging them in contact with their lees. The Premier Cru and Grand Cru vineyards within these villages produce outstanding wines that can develop tertiary flavors like hazelnut and mushroom for decades in the bottle. These wines are considered by many to be the pinnacle of Chardonnay quality worldwide, and they command high prices. Mâconnais. The Mâconnais subregion in the south of Burgundy is a source of fruity and mostly unoaked Chardonnay with simple flavors, lemon, peach, and melon, labeled Mâcon, AOC. The steep east and southeast facing slopes around the village of Pouilly-Fuissé, AOC, offer higher quality wines with concentrated stone fruit and tropical fruit flavors. These wines are often fermented and or matured in oak barrels to add body and flavor complexity. Languedoc-Roussillon, France. Languedoc-Roussillon is situated along the Mediterranean coast in southern France, stretching from the Spanish border in the west to the River Rhône in the east. The region produces a variety of different appellation AOC wines and is also home to the Pays d'Oc IGP. Pays d'Oc. Most Chardonnay from this region is labeled with Pays d'Oc IGP. The climate is warm and high volumes of ripe, fruity Chardonnay are produced with flavors of peach, pineapple, and banana. Very good or outstanding quality wines may see barrel fermentation and or maturation. Oak chips or staves are more common in inexpensive high-volume branded wines due to their lower costs. Cheap. USA. California. Chardonnay is widely planted in the state of California, and wines span all quality levels. The inland Central Valley is cut off from any sea influence by mountains and is a very warm and dry climate. Irrigation makes it possible to produce high yields of grapes. These grapes are typically used for high volume brands. Without any more specific GI, they are labeled California. They have peach and pineapple flavors, medium acidity and medium body. Any oak flavors are likely to have come from contact with oak chips or staves. High volume, cheap. Regions closer to the coast are capable of producing intensely flavored and well-balanced Chardonnay. Coastal influences moderate the climate, allowing for slower ripening. In Northern California, Los Carneros is cooled by morning fogs that come in from the San Pablo Bay. The coastal vineyards of Sonoma are cooled by Pacific sea breezes. These influences help the grapes to retain acidity while developing complex fruit flavors. Napa Valley becomes increasingly warm and sunny as you go further north. This region is known for producing full-bodied Chardonnay with pronounced tropical fruit flavors complemented by vanilla and spice from new oak. Yeah, by the way, new oak versus neutral oak. So new oak literally means it has not been used before to age wine. But the more you use a barrel to age wine, the wood soaks up the some amount of the wine, at which point it becomes more and more neutral, meaning that the oak no longer imparts as much flavor until finally it is neutral, at which point no oak flavor is imparted. So it's a good aging vessel because it allows for like some oxidation of the wine. Seasoned like a cast iron pan. And then they do reach the end of their life after a certain amount of neutrality where like the barrel starts to get not as good. And so then you would retire barrels. So actually a big cost in winemaking is, it's part of the reason that people do oak staves or oak chips, which is cheap. But the reason you do that is because running a barrel program means that if you're running high volume, low cost wine, you can't necessarily, like having barrels ends up upping your cost too much and you can't have good pricing on it anymore. So that's just like an interesting thing. When we make Chardonnay, we make it with only 20% new oak, and then 80% of the time it's in neutral. So we want like a very, like 1/5 of the time to be new oak. We want a very light new oak because it imparts a lot of vanilla and baking spice flavors. And we don't want that. We want like a creamy texture, right? It can be kind of a butter or a cream. We want like a creamy texture, not butter. The longer that you leave it in that oak, the more butter is going to come out. Nope, hang on. That's from malolactic fermentation. The more vanilla is going to come out. But the malolactic fermentation, you can shoot for butter or cream. Anyway, I'm getting jumbled. Let me get back to it. Are we ready? I don't care. In California's Central Coast, Santa Barbara County is also known for the quality of its Chardonnay. The vineyards receive cooling sea breezes that are funneled inland by lateral valleys. Styles vary from wines that are similar to those of the Côte du Bon, though through to more tropical fruit-flavored wines with higher alcohol and more pronounced flavors from new oak. Oh, okay. Sure. Here we are, Oregon. The state of Oregon has a climate that is generally moderate. Oregon Chardonnay wines often have refreshingly high acidity and a broad range of flavors from citrus fruit, lemon, or lime, or, etc., to tropical notes like melon. Production is relatively small in comparison to California. Just so we're clear, that's the whole blurb that they have about Oregon Chardonnay, which is fucking crazy. This is like, there's a lot of Chardonnay that gets made here. So I just want to be clear, that's like a very short blurb for the amount, but admittedly, we make less than California, but like, go fuck yourself. Anyway, sorry. I'm being kind of sensitive. That's not fair. We do make a lot less than California. Anyhow, Australia is another region. High volume Chardonnays labeled Southeastern Australia can be made from grapes grown anywhere within a very broad area. The fruit often comes from warm, irrigated inland vineyards. These wines are sometimes blended with other grape varieties, such as Semillon, or with wines from cooler vineyards. Blending can help to achieve better balance. The region of Adelaide Hills in South Australia is cooled by altitude, while the Yarra Valley region in Victoria is cooled by ocean currents from the south. These moderating influences allow for a longer growing season and produce wines with ripe stone fruit flavors like peach, and sometimes tropical fruit, pineapple or banana. They typically have medium to high acidity and carefully balanced oak flavors. The Margaret River region is in Western Australia. The quantity of wine produced here is smaller than that of Southeastern Australia, but quality is consistently high. The climate is warm, but cooling sea breezes help to moderate temperatures and slow ripening. Chardonnay wines from this area are typically medium to full in body with ripe stone fruit like peach and tropical fruit flavors like pineapple. Cool. New Zealand. The Marlborough region in the south... Okay, we're going to restart this one. New Zealand. The Marlborough region in the northeastern part of New Zealand's South Island is a cool but sunny region. It has prominent ocean influences, including sea breezes and plentiful rainfall. It produces some very good quality Chardonnay wines that often display ripe lemon, peach, and melon characters, high natural acidity, and subtle flavors from oak. Hawke's Bay is located on the east coast of the North Island. The climate is moderate, and Chardonnay is the most widely planted white grape variety here. It produces full-bodied wines that are balanced by high acidity and pronounced stone fruit flavors. Chile. The coastal Casablanca Valley region is exposed to sea breezes and morning fogs from the Pacific Ocean. These cooling influences help to slow ripening. Casablanca Valley produces refreshing wines from Chardonnay with citrus and stone fruit flavors and varying levels of oak influence. The larger and warmer Central Valley produces wines across a range of quality levels, from inexpensive high-volume brands to outstanding examples from vineyards that are moderated by altitude. Sure. South Africa. So just to be clear, this has all been just Chardonnay. So we're on the 6th page about Chardonnay. South Africa. The hot inland vineyards of South Africa's Western Cape are mostly dedicated to high-volume branded wines. Here, Chardonnay is sometimes blended with other white varieties such as Chenin Blanc. The coastal Walker Bay region is among the coolest in South Africa. It's too much Chardonnay. There's like a lot of Chardonnay in the world. The coastal Walker Bay region is among the coolest in South Africa due to its exposure to strong sea breezes from the south. It has a reputation for producing very good quality Chardonnay with high acidity and ripe stone fruit like peach or tropical fruit like pineapple and oak flavors. You say it's too much Chardonnay, but it is. Chardonnay is, there was a, I'm trying to think. I think, is it? Maybe it was a past chapter. There was at one point they were like Chardonnay is generally seen as like a neutral grape. So like Chardonnay ends up being heavily influenced. It's heavily influenced by like terroir, like the region in which it's grown, and particularly the winemaker and their style. So like the flavors that they're trying to cultivate in a wine. So it can be seen like in many of these regions, like it really is like sometimes it's about like this winemaker makes really fucking stunning Chardonnay, and that's like what they do. That is all they do, is just like make really, really good Chard. Because it's their take on it, and it's the grape itself is like really malleable, flavor wise. In many markets, Chardonnay has suffered from its it might be right here. Chardonnay has suffered from its association with heavy oak flavors, which were common in the Chardonnay wines of the 1980s and 1990s. By comparison, the focus today is not to overpower the fruit flavors of the wine with flavors from oak. However, it remains true that wines made from Chardonnay are more likely to display oak flavors than other well-known white varieties such as Pinot Grigio or Sauvignon Blanc. The steady popularity of Chablis has been partially attributed both to its unoaked style and the fact that it is labeled by region, not by grape variety. It seems that the Chardonnay brand is still in need of some rejuvenation. At the premium end of the market, Chardonnay is regarded highly for its ability to express the attributes of a particular climate or vineyard, as well as the skill of the winemaker. Its seemingly endless flavor combinations are intriguing to wine lovers, and many are willing to pay high prices to taste the best wines and observe how they evolve in the bottle. As an example, I tried a 1986 Chardonnay over the summer last year. So that's a 40-year-old white wine. And it was incredibly delicate, like expressive, fruit forward, a little bit of kind of like a melony green apple. It was a lovely wine for being in a bottle for 40 fucking years. And that was from Oregon. So like you can only imagine like some of these, like Oregon got a short blurb. Some of these regions have been making wine for 300 years and like are making some incredible Chardonnay. So that's my 2 cents about Chardonnay. It's not my favorite grape varietal, but I will defend it for being worthy of being as popular as it is. So, you'll be glad to know that we're on to Sauvignon Blanc. Sauvignon Blanc. Sauvignon Blanc is an aromatic white grape variety that is best known for producing dry wines and distinctive herbaceous aromas and refreshing high acidity. Though it is considered to be a French variety, it is now widely grown in cool and moderate climates around the world. It produces wines that are most commonly unoaked and best consumed while young and fresh. The characteristics of Sauvignon Blanc. Sauvignon Blanc is an aromatic white grape variety that grows best in cool and moderate climates. It typically produces dry wines that are light to medium in body with high acidity. Its wines are characterized by their pronounced herbaceous aromas, grass, green bell pepper, capsicum, and asparagus. Primary flavors vary according to ripeness, from green fruits like apple and gooseberry, citrus fruits like grapefruit, and wet stones to riper flavors of stone fruit like peach and tropical fruit like passion fruit. Complexity can be gained by blending grapes from different vineyard sites with varying degrees of ripeness. Winemaking and maturation options. Sauvignon Blanc is usually seen as a single varietal wine, though it is sometimes blended with Semillon. Single varietal wines made from Sauvignon Blanc are most commonly produced in inert vessels. Their distinctive herbaceous characters may be easily overwhelmed by the flavors of new oak. Yeah. If oak has been used during winemaking, it will typically be indicated by terms such as barrel-aged. Wines made from Sauvignon Blanc are usually best consumed when young. Even outstanding examples can lose their fresh aromas within a couple of years of the vintage and develop unattractive vegetal notes. Important regions for Sauvignon Blanc. France, the Loire Valley. Sauvignon Blanc is the only white variety permitted in Sancerre AOC and Puy-Fumé AOC, 2 appellations of the Loire Valley. These appellations, which face each other across the Loire River, have a cool climate. They produce dry wines with high acidity and aromas of green fruit, apple, herbaceous notes like grass and asparagus, and sometimes wet stones. Sauvignon Blanc can also be found with the label Touraine AOC, Touraine, Touraine. Grapes for these wines come from the wider Touraine subregion, to the west of Sancerre AOC and Puy-Fumé AOC. Wines are typically fruity and inexpensive. Bordeaux. In Bordeaux, Sauvignon Blanc makes a broad range of styles. Simple Bordeaux AOC has fresh aromas of grass and green apple. They may be single varietal Sauvignon Blanc wines or blends of Sauvignon Blanc with Semillon. The wines of Graves AOC and Pessac Léognan AOC are more concentrated and complex. They are typically blends of Sauvignon Blanc and Semillon. Semillon adds body to Sauvignon Blanc and helps the wine to age. Very good or outstanding wines from these 2 AOCs are often matured in oak and will develop complex flavors of honey and nuts in the bottle. Languedoc-Roussillon. Much of Languedoc-Roussillon is too warm for Sauvignon Blanc. Areas that are cooled by altitude are where Sauvignon Blanc produces its best wines. Typical Sauvignon Blanc from here is dry, high in acidity with tropical fruit flavors like passion fruit and herbaceous notes like grass. The wines are typically labeled Pays d'Oc IGP. Another Pays d'Oc. New Zealand. The cool climate region of Marlborough in the northeastern part of New Zealand's South Island has become closely associated with the Sauvignon Blanc grape. Sauvignon Blancs from Marlborough typically have more pronounced characteristics than those made in the Loire Valley. Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc wines are often made by blending across different sites or from grapes harvested at different ripeness levels. These wines can therefore display a broad range of fruit flavors: grapefruit, peach, passion fruit, alongside pronounced green bell pepper, capsicum, and asparagus aromas. In Marlborough, experimentation beyond the classic style is increasingly common. Some focus on grapes from cooler vineyard sites to produce wines that are similar in the style to the wines of the Loire. Others experiment with small amounts of oak or lees contact to add complexity and body. Don't worry, we're not done with Sauvignon Blanc yet. In Australia, the Margaret River region in Western Australia has built a reputation for Sauvignon Blanc, most commonly as part of a blend with Semillon. These wines typically have concentrated herbaceous aromas, and some examples are produced in contact with oak. Wow. Sauvignon Blanc is the most widely planted grape variety in Adelaide Hills in southern Australia. The vineyards here are cooled by altitude. Most wines are fresh and fruity with a broad range of flavors from citrus to tropical fruit. Some are blended with Semillon to make fuller-bodied wines with greater aging potential. I'm also realizing there's an accent mark, so the Semillon is the French Semillon, and then I think the Australian is Semillon, which is, they always have two different names. I don't know why. I do know why. It's because they're basically like, stop calling it Semillon. It's not Semillon. It's derivative. Yeah, people get picky. Chile. Did you know that Chile made Sauvignon Blanc? The coastal region of Casablanca Valley has an established reputation for producing very good quality Sauvignon Blanc, as it is cooled by both sea breezes and morning fogs. The larger Central Valley produces wines in a range of quality levels, from inexpensive high-volume brands to very good examples. I actually didn't know Chile made a lot of Sauvignon Blanc. That kind of surprises me. South Africa. South Africa's plantings of Sauvignon Blanc are concentrated in the coastal regions, as the inland vineyards are generally too warm. Constantia, to the south of Cape Town, is cooled by sea breezes from the Southern Ocean. It produces refreshing Sauvignon Blanc with ripe tropical fruit and herbaceous aromas. The small region of Elgin is cooled by altitude and is often cited as the coolest wine region in South Africa. Its Sauvignon Blanc wines typically show green fruit flavors and sometimes aromas of wet stones. Okay. USA. The climate of California is mostly too warm to produce the fresh herbaceous style of Sauvignon Blanc that is common in, for example, France and New Zealand. The finest grapes come from cooler areas, and the grapes may be harvested early to retain their characteristic acidity and herbaceous aromas. Very good examples of this style can be found in the cooler areas of the Napa Valley. These wines are sometimes made in contact with oak to add body and flavor. Smoke. Labeling for Sauvignon Blanc. Anyway, you can't really see it. It's a little washed out. It's too reflective. They're kind of cute. Sauvignon Blanc today. Sauvignon Blanc is currently very popular throughout the wine drinking world. Like a trusted brand, its flavors are distinctive and recognizable. Its wines are refreshing and can be enjoyed both with and without food. Some producers are concerned that consumers may one day tire of wines with such intense herbaceous aromas. They are therefore experimenting beyond the classic style to find points of difference that can help to keep their Sauvignon Blanc offering interesting and varied. We're on to Pinot Grigio and Pinot Gris. And this one actually I think is going to be pretty interesting. Pinot Grigio and Pinot Gris are, it's kind of short, but there are really interesting differences in where Pinot Grigio is planted, essentially. And the name actually does play a difference in this. So like when you see Pinot Gris versus Pinot Grigio, there's a flavor difference between the two, which I think is just kind of an interesting deal. And you're going to hear that, I think, more for Syrah Shiraz and for probably Grenache Garnacha and probably what else? It's probably the main ones. That's my guess. Yeah, that's my guess. All right, Pinot Grigio and Pinot Gris. Pinot Grigio and Pinot Gris are two names for the same white grape variety. Pinot Grigio is the Italian name, and Pinot Gris is the French name. It grows primarily in cool or moderate climates and produces two distinct styles that are determined principally by grape growing and harvesting choices. The characteristics of Pinot Grigio/Pinot Gris. Pinot Grigio/Pinot Gris is very versatile in the vineyard and produces two very distinct styles of wine. The most common style is made from high yields of grapes that are harvested early to retain acidity. The result is a dry, light-bodied wine with medium to high acidity and simple flavors of pear and lemon. A very different style can be created when yields are controlled and the harvesting of the grapes is delayed. These riper grapes are higher in sugar, lower in acidity, and more complex in flavor. From these grapes, it is possible to produce a powerful, full-bodied wine with medium acidity and pronounced flavors of lemon, stone fruit like peach, and tropical fruit like mango and banana. Winemaking and maturation options. Pinot Grigio / Pinot Gris is typically fermented in inert vessels to stainless steel or cement to preserve its fruity flavors. The lighter Italian style is almost always fermented to dryness, meaning no sugar, while producers of the riper, fuller-bodied style sometimes interrupt the fermentation by removing the yeasts to retain an off-dry or medium level of sweetness. Lighter styles of Pinot Grigio are best consumed while fresh and young, as their simple flavors fade within a short time in the bottle. The more concentrated, full-bodied examples can develop notes of ginger and honey over time in the bottle. Important regions for Pinot Grigio and Pinot Gris. Italy. With few exceptions, Italian Pinot Grigio wines are simple, unoaked, and light in body. Many of these wines are produced in the Veneto region in the northeast of Italy and are labeled Del Venezia, DOC, or Veneto IGT. They are typically inexpensive due to being produced in high volumes. They typically have a short finish and are most commonly acceptable to good in quality. So, kind of mid. A more complex and fuller-bodied style of Italian Pinot Grigio can be found in Friuli Venezia Giulia in northern Italy's eastern corner, which is, I think, where Prosecco is made. It's one of the regions, is Friuli Venezia Giulia. France. In Alsace AOC, Pinot Gris is typically made from grapes that are picked later in the season, when they are extra ripe. By this point, the acidity is typically medium, and the grapes have greater sugar ripeness and flavor complexity. Depending on the preference of the winemaker, the wines range from dry to medium in sweetness. They are typically medium to full in body, with pronounced flavors of peach and mango. They can develop notes of honey and ginger in the bottle. The best wines come from Grand Cru vineyards. So just as a heads up, Grand Cru vineyards are higher designation. Same with Premier Cru. They mentioned that in the Chardonnay chapter. So that's like specific vineyards or specific appellations, like regions that produce, like have like a very particular microclimate and produce like really high quality examples of a wine. So then we've got some labeling in Alsace. So like Alsace AOC versus Alsace's Grand Cru AOCs versus Vendange Tardives VT, which is late harvest. So regular Alsace AOC covers the entire area. The wines from Alsace are typically labeled with their grape variety, and as of the 2021 vintage, the wine's level of sweetness must be indicated on the label using a standardized scale. Alsace's Grand Cru AOCs must be made from grapes grown in specific vineyards that are mostly found on the steeply sloped foothills of the Vosges Mountains, facing east-southeast. These sites receive more sunlight, and the resulting wines are typically riper in flavor and fuller in body than those from vineyards on the flatter plains. Pinot Gris, Riesling, and Gewürztraminer are typically eligible grape varieties in Alsace's Grand Crus. Cool. And then Vendange Tardive. This means late harvest in French. In Alsace, this labeling term typically denotes a medium to sweet wine made from extra ripe grapes. Sheesh. Go tell me some good night stories so my daughter can sleep. How you doing, Ted? It's good to see you. Grapes, we got 2 purple, blue, and green ones. Yeah, I've got to read. So just as a heads up, I've got to read like 50 pages of my WSET book by tomorrow, so I'm doing it on stream because I really have to finish it. But it is going to be boring, so I probably could put your kids to sleep. Thanks for hanging, though. It is going to be pretty boring. I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to be pretty dry. It is a textbook, and so right now we're on Pinot Grigio. How are you, dude? Then read, don't stream. I got to get my hours in, man. We're on Pinot Grigio. Next is Gewürztraminer, Viognier, and Albarino. Then Merlot. Isn't it 5:55? No. Right now, for me, it's 9 o'clock. Then we got Cab Sauv. It's 9 p.m. Yeah. No, yeah. I don't know. I'm German. Oh, yeah. Whoa. Is it 5 a.m. there for you? Why are you up? Oh, wait. Probably waking up for the day. Wait, you're German. So you could help me with the Gewürztraminer and the Riesling chapters. I assume you're going to know more about it than I will. Sun coming up. Yeah. Do you wake up every day for sunrise? Because that's crazy. I don't. Yeah, you don't know anything about Riesling? Okay, all right. Gewürztraminer? Gotta start drinking more wine, buddy. No, I'm still drunk and drinking. Oh, fair enough. No work today, maybe? Pinot Grigio, Pinot Gris today. In its simplest, lightest body form, Pinot Grigio has been exceptionally successful over the past decade. These wines are exported in huge quantities from the Veneto in Italy. Its success demonstrates a clear shift away from heavy, oaky styles that were once popular among everyday wine drinkers. As a result of the abundance of this simpler style, consumers who are looking for complexity and intensity in their wines often overlook this variety. This is a shame, as its riper styles provide exceptional complexity and pair well with strongly flavored food. It is an interesting variety that clearly demonstrates the role that grape yields and ripeness can play in determining the style, quality, and price of the wine. Outside of Italy and France, some other wine-producing regions now have significant plantings of Pinot Grigio and Pinot Gris. Producers typically use the name Pinot Grigio to signify a higher acid, lighter-bodied style, whereas Pinot Gris signifies a wine with more body and complexity. 12 hours straight drinking as a normal German, it's doing it. I mean, actually, that does... I've been to Berlin. I know how long a night of clubbing goes, and it's usually well into the next day. So this is a normal... Where in Germany are you at? Because, yeah, it does sound like a pretty normal... it's a night out. Of course you're still drinking. Get after it, dude. You only got so much weekend, Das ist sehr, sehr gut. Sehr gut. Ja. Gewürztraminer, Viognier, and Albarino. These three white grapes create very distinctive... like 6 hours to Berlin? That is a long time to Berlin. So you're like not close to Berlin is what I'm hearing. These three white grapes create very distinctive single varietal wines. Yeah, 6 hours to Berlin by car? Dude, that is... I'll admit, maybe I have a skewed sense of how big Germany is, but like, that's a long ways, no? Train is like 4 hours. Yeah, it's still a long... where it's not Berlin. What town are we talking? What region? Responsible for some of the world's fullest bodied and most floral white wines, Albarino is an increasingly fashionable grape variety known for refreshing wines with concentrated fruit flavors. So Gewürztraminer is an aromatic variety that grows best in cool to moderate climates. It produces and creates powerfully scented wines that range from dry to sweetened style. Gewürztraminer grapes accumulate high levels of sugar during ripening. When the juice is fermented to dryness, close to Poland and Czech Republic. Oh yeah. Okay, that's a ways, dude. It's got to be fun though. Can you like close enough that you can like hop over the border and like get some awesome Polish and Czech food and then like go back home? I'd imagine that's a perk. Well, although also you probably have really good examples of Polish and Czech food wherever you live if you're that close. When the juice is fermented to dryness, the result is a high alcohol wine. A typical Gewürztraminer is full-bodied with low to medium acidity. It has pronounced floral aromas like rose, as well as stone fruit like peach and apricot, and tropical fruit like lychee flavors. Gewürztraminer is typically unoaked to preserve its floral aromas. Very good or outstanding examples can develop flavors of honey and dried fruit in the bottle. Bro, I got German Festa cow. I'm not even going to pretend to know what that means. I got German Festa cow? What does that mean? What is Festa cow? What is German Festa cow? Fully cow to eat and like you're talking about like pig roasts and like a half cow roast? That's crazy. Yum. Yeah, by the way, yeah, lethal note. I'm so glad you're still here and listening. Gewürztraminer. there are some really good examples of Gewürztraminer out there. Like that is one to definitely get some, like off dry with a little bit of sweetness to it. They're fucking delicious. Yeah, cow fully grilled and smoked. Sounds so good. Holy shit. It's been a long time since I've been somewhere that's doing like a whole half pig or a full cow. Like that is, you got to have some equipment to do that. Meat only heat. The most famous region for Gewürztraminer is Alsace AOC in France, where it produces some of the region's highest quality Grand Cru wines alongside Riesling and Pinot Gris. Gewürztraminer's pronounced and distinctive aromas make it a popular choice with consumers who enjoy complex and flavorful white wines. I was pretty sure that Gewürz was a German grape. Ted, is that not right? Isn't Gewürz German? I mean, I get that, like France is one of like the best producing regions of it, but I thought the grape was German. I could be wrong. Viognier. Viognier is an aromatic grape variety that is mainly grown in moderate climates. A typical Viognier is dry with low to medium acidity, high alcohol, and a medium to full body. Its wines have pronounced floral aromas like blossom and stone fruit flavors like peach and apricot. How do you feel about sake? I'm for it. I love a good sake. And they're so, like, a filtered sake is so clean and precise in its flavors. And it has like these long, complex and developing finishes that just like ooze extra like secondary, tertiary, and quaternary flavors. And then unfiltered, like Nagori is, I think it's Nagori is unfiltered, is like so deliciously sweet, and the sediment's so nice. Yeah, I like, fuck me up with sake tastings. It's so good. It's very specific though, so it's, you gotta have the right food pairings for it to like really shine. I think there's one sort of the grapes. My dad started doing brisket, but he can't get the final stick. What does he mean? What do you mean final stick? Like it's like you're doing brisket, but it's just not turning out well. Is he overcooking it? Do you have to go like really low and slow for like 12 hours? That's my impression of brisket is that you've got to like wrap it, rewrap it, and wrap it again at a really low temp to like make sure all the juice stays in it. It's not getting good char. Yeah. Because you got to like put a big bark on it. So you got to go kind of high at first and then low. I suppose, do you do like the first hour without a wrap? But no, it's stupid. Honestly, when I can't nail a recipe, I really get that. Yeah, no, it's just stupid. A typical Viognier is dry with low to medium acidity, high alcohol, and a medium to full body. Its wines have pronounced floral aromas like blossom and stone fruit flavors like peach and apricot. Most wines are fermented in inert vessels, but unusually for an aromatic variety, some oak-aged Viogniers are made. He does it before 12 hours. There, it was perfect. Yeah, brisket, I think, is just one of those that you just got to run real low and slow for a very long time. And then it's amazing, but like it's a picky piece of meat. And isn't it like historically, I think it's a cheap cut. Like brisket wasn't very sought after until people started being like, this is my whole life's work to make this delicious. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh shit, it's actually good. Yeah, 16 to 20 hours. Though now widely planted throughout the world, some of the finest examples of Viognier can be found in Condrieu, AOC, an appellation in France's northern Rhone, which is dedicated to single varietal Viognier. It is common to find light flavors from oak in the wines of Condrieu, AOC, though the winemaker will be careful not to overpower the delicate floral aromas. Viognier has become a very fashionable variety. Its aromatic character and body make it suitable for both single varietal wines or as a blending partner for adding floral notes and body. No, yeah, brisket's getting more expensive now, but I think historically, like back in the whenever brisket kind of started picking up in smokehouses, like the reason it's going up in price now is because it's popular, but it wasn't popular a long time ago. There was like the reason that it was such a good thing for smokehouses and stuff was because they could make a lot of it cheap. And because it wasn't a great cut of meat and you had to do all this work to make it taste really good. But then they started making it taste so good in the US that like it's way more in demand now, I think. I'd have to look this up. I could be wrong. I don't know. I don't think it was always a very popular cut. Albarino. Albarino is a white grape variety that is grown in the Rías Baixas do region in the northwest corner of Spain, close to the Atlantic Ocean. This region has a moderate climate and is notably cooler, wetter, and cloudier than many of Spain's other wine-producing regions. This means that it is well suited to the production of refreshing white wines. Typical Albarino is dry with high acidity. It is medium-bodied with flavors of citrus fruit, lemon and grapefruit, and stone fruit, peach and apricot. Albarino is most commonly an unoaked wine that is intended to be drunk when young. Sometimes a small amount of lees contact is used to add body and complexity. Albarino has also enjoyed a recent increase in popularity, and producers outside of Spain are beginning to plant this variety in suitable sites around the world. Another one to check out, Albarino. Some of them are incredible. Some of them are really, really good. They're very expressive. So my internet went out all night the other night. So I tried playing aerial training and committed to only getting to the ball via fast aerials. Fuck yes, dude. You got to practice. You got to practice. We're learning about wine tonight because I have to read this book before tomorrow. Because my class starts tomorrow. We're on chapter 14, Merlot. Or, as the Americans say, Merlot. From its homeland in Bordeaux, Merlot has been exported and planted throughout the world. It has a very versatile grape that can produce light, fruity wines intended for immediate consumption, as well as pronounced, concentrated wines that improve with oak and bottle maturation. It is often used to add an appealing softness to blends with higher tannin black grape varieties, such as Cabernet Sauvignon. Bruh, I need my beer now, and I'm going to smoke my bong. Can we play after? We can play after. Oh my god. I just got scared by the by the notification. We can play after when I finish reading, which is going to be 40 more pages. So we're about a third of the way through the reading, and it's been about an hour. So this it might take 2 more hours to get through this, which would be rough. But I'm definitely down to play. So like, feel free to sheesh, I'm going to sleep. Yeah, it's probably wise. But friend me on Epic. My name is my Epic name is FloorGod. And yeah, let's like, I got DC. Yeah, I got Discord. Type ! Discord. Here, I'll do it for you. Oh, come on, Nightbot. I'm like positive that's supposed to work. Yeah, what the heck? That should have worked. Yeah, Nightbot is on a break. What the hell? Because that... Well, let's see if you guys can still insult me. That's the most important command that we have. What the hell, dude? First, I need shorts. Why would it not work? Okay, integrations. I don't know why that's not working, actually. That kind of bothers me. I'll need to figure that out, because there's so many commands in there. Twitch says Nightbot is in your moderators. Well, yeah, because it's supposed to be so that it can post in chat and post links and stuff. So it's like it's supposed to be a mod because Salal, I don't know what's up with that. Yeah, I don't know either. I don't know why it wouldn't be working. You're in Discord? Word. Yeah, hit me up another night. I'm probably going to be reading it. It looks like I'm going to be reading for pretty much the rest of the night, to be honest. So I might not be playing tonight, but I will be on tomorrow night, right? It's Saturday? Yeah, it's Saturday. I'll be on tomorrow night. And like, shit, I'll want to see a German Gerd quick. I don't know what that is, but yeah, post it in, I don't know, general. What's a Gerd? A Gerd? What's a Gerd? Garden. Yeah, I'd love to see a German garden. Like a beer garden? Anywho, okay, Merlot. The characteristics of live in DC. No, man, I got to keep going on this. What are you talking about? You're in the Discord. Just post pictures of it in one of the channels. Characteristics of Merlot. Merlot is a black grape variety that grows in moderate and warm climates. A single varietal Merlot is typically a dry wine with medium acidity and medium tannins. Its primary characters vary according to ripeness. Just right Merlot grapes produce light to medium-bodied wines with fresh red fruit flavors like strawberry and red plum, and herbaceous notes like green bell pepper and capsicum. Riper Merlot grapes can produce wines with medium to full body and cooked black fruit flavors, blackberry and black plum. This riper style is easily achieved in a warm climate, but can also be achieved by harvesting later in a moderate climate. Merlot. I want to sleep too? Well, then go sleep and then show me the garden tomorrow. I just got to keep going on this. I can't. I just need to keep going on this. I need this for tomorrow morning. Winemaking and maturation options. While it is capable of making outstanding single varietal wines, Merlot is often blended with higher tannin varieties such as Cabernet Sauvignon to achieve a particular style of wine. Merlot adds red fruit flavors to these blends and can lower the tannin levels, making them ready to drink at an earlier stage. Both oaked and unoaked styles are made. While a lighter style of Merlot has little need for extended barrel maturation, a fuller-bodied style may benefit from the softness and flavor complexity gained through oak maturation. The best Merlot-dominated wines are age-worthy, developing notes of dried fruit and tobacco over time. Got no stream 6 in a row? I don't know what that means. But I will be streaming tomorrow. Important regions for Merlot. France. Bordeaux. The Bordeaux region in southwest France is the classic home of Merlot. It is a moderate climate with high levels of rainfall due to its proximity to the Atlantic Ocean. Wines are typically blends, predominantly from Merlot and Cabernet Sauvignon, while Merlot being the most widely planted variety in the region, with Merlot being the most widely planted. Proportions of the blend depend on the intended wine style, but soil types and the annual weather patterns also have an important impact. The region is naturally segmented by the Gironde estuary, where the Garonne and Dordogne rivers meet. West and south of the Garonne lie the districts of Medoc, Graves, and Sauternes. This area is often referred to as the left bank. The principal districts to the north and east of the Gironde and Dordogne are Saint-Emilion and Pomerol, commonly referred to as the right bank. Wines labeled Bordeaux AOC or Bordeaux Superior AOC are typically Merlot-dominated blends. They can be made from vines planted anywhere throughout the Bordeaux region. The most famous Merlot-dominated wines come from Saint-Emilion AOC and Pomerol AOC on the right bank. Strangest podcast I've listened to in a while. It's fair. This is a strange episode of FloorGod Stream. Outstanding quality wines from both of these appellations are full-bodied with pronounced aromas of black fruits and flavors from oak maturation. These wines can age well in the bottle, developing complex aromas of dried fruit and tobacco. Regional appellations, Bordeaux AOC and Bordeaux Superior AOC, can be made from grapes grown anywhere across the Bordeaux region. Or Bordeaux Superior AOC is subjected to slightly stricter rules regarding yields, aging, and minimum alcohol levels than a Bordeaux AOC. Left Bank appellations, Haut Medoc AOC, is located to the north of the city of Bordeaux within the district known as the Medoc. Within the Haut Medoc, there are some smaller appellations such as Margaux, Pauillac, Graves. Graves is the area to the south of the city of Bordeaux. It includes the high-quality Pessac-Lyonnais AOC. Although Merlot is usually part of the blended wines from the Left Bank, Cabernet Sauvignon is typically the dominant variety. Right Bank appellations, Pomerol AOC and Saint-Emilion, are the most important appellations of the Right Bank. Saint-Emilion AOC includes the more prestigious Saint-Emilion Grand Cru AOC. Merlot is the most important variety in the wines on the right bank. So Bordeaux is Cab Merlot, but the left is more Cab, the right is more Merlot. What fruit other than grape do you like most in wines? In terms of a flavor characteristic, because they're all grapes, other than fruit wines, which are not, like fruited wines are not going to be included in this, I don't think. Flavors, I think just from wines that I've had recently, like I really like peach. I like passion fruit, pineapple. I think those are really interesting little, like, they tend to present late on the palate. So like you get kind of green apple and acidity up front, and then all of a sudden like a little bit of pineapple that like dissipates. They also, the fruitier flavors like stone fruit and tropical fruit flavors tend to be what sits on the finish, so like sits on the tongue for a long duration after the wine has already been swallowed. And I really like when you're kind of left with like a lingering pineapple or passion fruit flavor. Just like a very satisfying, pleasant flavor to me. But I also love pineapple, so that's, kind of not fair. It's when it gets like really grassy that I get kind of annoyed. It's like, why do you want to be drinking grass? There are good examples of it that are like actually kind of tasty, but like, not usually. I don't mind matcha. I don't want my matcha. I don't want to be sucking up the dust in the straw, but like, I don't mind the taste of matcha actually. The grassiness in wine is different from the like plant flavor of matcha, if that makes sense. Yeah, think more like wet hay, kind of like a barnyard grass as opposed to like a fresh herbaceous grass. It's not really a great way to put it, but hang on a second. I'll be right back. Hi, sorry, I got a call. Oh, I'm getting another. Never mind. I think they just butt dialed me immediately. Okay. Sorry, it was very cute. They're helping my eldest sibling move into a new place. So it was fun to hear about. And also the wine stuff's happening. Anyway. Languedoc-Roussillon. Merlot is planted widely in warm southern France. It is possible to find single varietal Merlot across all quality levels, as well as blends with other black grape varieties such as Cabernet Sauvignon, Grenache, and Syrah. The wines are typically labeled Pays d'Oc IGP. USA. California is a source of Merlot-based wines across all styles and quality levels. While blends with other black grape varieties are common, single varietal Merlot is also important in many areas of California. Styles range widely from fruity, medium-bodied wines labeled California through to concentrated, full-bodied examples from the neighboring regions of Napa Valley and Sonoma. It is common to taste pronounced flavors from oak, vanilla, coconut, and smoke in red wines from California. Very good or outstanding wines are often aged in new barrels. High-volume producers may use oak chips or staves instead. Cheap. Chile. Merlot ripens well in Chile's warm and dry Central Valley, and it is possible to achieve high yields of fully ripe fruit each year. The Central Valley is a particularly important source of soft, medium-bodied Merlot for high-volume brands intended for immediate consumption. However, the moderating effects of altitude allow for fresher styles of Merlot to be made as well. South Africa. Ah, yes, the region of Stellenbosch in South Africa has developed a strong reputation for complex, age-worthy red wines from classic Bordeaux varieties. The climate of this mountainous region varies from moderate to warm, depending on vineyard altitude and influence from sea breezes. Australia. In Australia, Merlot has traditionally been used as part of a blend with Cabernet Sauvignon in a number of high-quality wines, such as those from Western Australia's Margaret River region. New Zealand. Most of New Zealand's Merlot comes from Hawke's Bay in the Northern Island. This region has a moderate climate with plentiful rainfall. Wines range in style from light and fruity through to full-bodied and long-lived. Merlot can be found as a single varietal wine or as a part of a blend with Cabernet Sauvignon. Merlot today. Merlot has at times been considered best suited to creating high-volume branded wines or for blending with higher tannin varieties such as Cabernet Sauvignon. Today, producers throughout the wine-producing world are proving that Merlot does not need to be blended to create impressive, complex wines with excellent aging potential. Its medium tannins and acidity make it a wonderfully versatile grape that is capable of producing refreshing, unoaked wines at all quality levels, as well as powerfully flavored wines that benefit greatly from a period of oak and or bottle maturation. Some people really hate Merlot because it got kind of overplayed, I think, between the 70s and the 80s. Merlot fucks, dude. Merlot is so good if it's made well. We're on to Cabernet Sauvignon. Cabernet Sauvignon is a black grape variety from southwest France. It is notable for its pronounced black fruit and herbaceous aromas, high tannins, and high acidity. Due to these natural features, it can produce outstanding quality red wines that mature and develop for many years in the bottle. It is the grape variety behind many of the most famous wines from the left bank of Bordeaux in France. Today, outstanding examples are made throughout the wine-producing world. Characteristics. Cabernet Sauvignon grows in moderate and warm climates, though in a moderate climate, it can struggle to ripen in all but the warmest sites. Its grapes have thick skins that contain high levels of color, flavor, and tannin. The grapes need a long and warm growing season to ripen fully. A single varietal Cabernet Sauvignon will be deeply colored. On the palate, it will be dry, high in acidity, high in tannins, and medium to full in body. It will have pronounced flavors of black fruit, black currant, black cherry, and usually herbal, like mint, or herbaceous notes, like green bell pepper. In warm climates, its fruit flavors can become cooked in character. Winemaking and maturation. Cabernet Sauvignon can be found as a single varietal wine, though it is often blended with other varieties such as Merlot. Blending can help to soften Cabernet Sauvignon's very high levels of tannin and acidity. This may be particularly important in cooler vintages in moderate climate regions, where Cabernet Sauvignon may struggle to ripen. A newly fermented Cabernet Sauvignon can taste unpleasantly tannic. It will often be matured in oak barrels for several months or even years before it is bottled. Oak maturation allows small amounts of oxygen into the wine. This helps to soften the tannins. A new oak barrel will also impart complex secondary flavors like smoke, vanilla, cloves, and cedar. Cabernet Sauvignon's high levels of tannin and acidity act as natural preservatives. Very good or outstanding examples can mature over many years in the bottle. Over time, its tannins soften and the wine develops complex tertiary flavors: dried fruits, earth, forest floor. The important regions for Cab. France. In Bordeaux, Cabernet Sauvignon can fail to ripen reliably in the coolest sites of moderate climate Bordeaux. On the left bank, however, there are some soils that contain a lot of stones, known as gravel. Gravel is beneficial in this maritime climate as, after heavy rainfall, it permits quick drainage of water. Gravel also absorbs heat during the day, which maintains warmth in the vineyard late into the evening, benefiting the ripening of Cabernet Sauvignon. Cabernet Sauvignon-dominated blends are common on the left bank from areas such as Haut-Medoc AOC, which includes Margaux AOC and Pauillac AOC, as well as Graves AOC, which includes Pessac-Léognan AOC. Nya? The best wines from these AOCs have very long aging potential. The weather in Bordeaux varies widely from one year to the next. In some years, Cabernet Sauvignon struggles to ripen even on the gravel soils of the left bank. This makes blending very important. The proportion of Merlot in a given blend may increase in years where Cabernet Sauvignon struggled to ripen. Interesting. They also have a picture of the vineyards. It is like a field of gravel and like mid-sized stones. So like that's pretty wild and cool. Labeling in Bordeaux, part 2. So chateau, this term does not necessarily refer to a grand building, but instead to an estate or producer. Chateau indicates that the wine has been made from grapes grown on the producer's land rather than being made from bought-in grapes. Grand Cru or Cru class. Some of the subregions within Bordeaux have drawn up classifications to rank the best wines from the best chateau. Classified wines are permitted to put the terms Grand Cru Classé or Cru Classé on the bottle. Though some of these classifications have not been updated in a long time, they are widely considered to be a strong indication of quality. They are some of the most expensive and sought-after wines of Bordeaux and can typically mature for many years or even decades in the bottle. Cru Bourgeois. Wines from the Medoc that have not been classified as Grand Cru Classé can apply to use the term Cru Bourgeois on their labels. With a few exceptions, these wines do not command the same high price as the classified Chateau, though some can be very good to outstanding in quality with long aging potential. Cool. Languedoc-Roussillon. The climate in Languedoc-Roussillon is warm and annual weather patterns are less variable than they are in Bordeaux. Cabernet Sauvignon is able to ripen reliably here. It is possible to find single varietal Cabernet Sauvignon as well as blends with Merlot and other black grape varieties. The wines are typically labeled Pays d'Oc IGP. Cool. It's the last French region. USA. In California, the neighboring regions of Napa Valley and Sonoma produce many very good or outstanding quality wines from Cabernet Sauvignon. Napa Valley has a warm, sunny climate and a long growing season that is ideal for ripening Cabernet Sauvignon. Full-bodied wines that produce with pronounced ripe black fruit flavors and high ripe tannins can be found in the subregions of Oakville and Rutherford. In the far north of the Napa Valley, the subregion of Calistoga is warmer still. Some of the ripest and most full-bodied wines of Napa Valley can be found here. The warmer inland areas of Sonoma can produce similarly powerful wines. Though often labeled as Cabernet Sauvignon, these wines may contain small quantities of other grape varieties. That's an interesting label thing that you should know about. Wines labeled California can be blended from grapes grown across the entire state. Much of the fruit for these wines comes from the hot, irrigated vineyards of the Central Valley. They are typically intended for immediate consumption. They may display some flavors of oak, often due to the use of oak alternatives such as oak chips or staves. What have we said so far? Cheap. Chile. Cabernet Sauvignon is Chile's most widely planted variety. Maipo Valley and Colchagua Valley are important subregions for Cabernet Sauvignon within the broader Central Valley. They spread laterally from the foothills of the Andes Mountains in the east to the coastal ranges in the west, with flatter and more fertile sites on the valley floor. These natural features provide producers with a broad range of sites to choose from. An increasing number of producers have established reputations for very good to outstanding quality single varietal Cabernet Sauvignon and blends with Merlot and the local specialty Carmenere. Wines from the foothills of the mountains often have distinctive herbal like mint and herbaceous like green bell pepper characteristics alongside black fruit and flavors from oak. South Africa. Stellenbosch is a high-quality region in South Africa. It is a mountainous region, and the climate varies from moderate to warm depending on vineyard altitude. Styles range accordingly, from fresh herbal Cabernet Sauvignon to full-bodied styles with cooked fruit flavors and high levels of alcohol. Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot are sometimes blended with the local specialty grape Pinotage to create what is commonly referred to as a Cape blend. Cool. In Australia, the Margot River region in Western Australia has become well known for the quality of its Cabernet Sauvignon, which is sometimes blended with Merlot. This warm region is moderated by coastal breezes and plentiful winter rainfall. The wines typically display ripe black fruit aromas and subtle notes from oak. South Australia's small Coonawarra region is moderated by cloud cover and cooling breezes from the south. Its Cabernet Sauvignon wines have distinctive herbal characters, pronounced black currant flavors, and typically smoke and cedar flavors from oak. Coonawarra Cabernet Sauvignon is typically very good to outstanding and can develop in the bottle for many years. And finally, New Zealand. In New Zealand's moderate climate Hawke's Bay region, Cabernet Sauvignon needs the warmest sites to achieve full ripeness. It is commonly blended with the more widely grown Merlot to produce wines with fresh red and black fruit flavors and herbaceous notes like green bell pepper. Cabernet Sauvignon continues to be popular both with high-volume brands and premium producers. The global consumer is very familiar with this grape, and it is a popular choice for drinking alongside food, which can sometimes help to soften its high levels of tannin and acidity. Examples are also being produced by using gentler winemaking practices that extract less tannin, meaning that the wines can be enjoyed at a younger age while they are fresh and fruity. Producers in Chile are currently experiencing success with this style. Cool. We're done with Cabernet. Here we go. We're on Syrah or Shiraz. Syrah and Shiraz are two names of the same variety. Syrah is the French name, while Shiraz is the name most commonly used in Australia. It is a black grape variety known for producing wines with black fruit flavors and characteristic aromas of black pepper. It can produce soft and fruity wines meant for early drinking, as well as exceptionally concentrated examples that evolve complex tertiary flavors in the bottle. The characteristics of Syrah Shiraz. It's a thick-skinned black variety with small grapes. Requires a moderate to warm climate to ripen fully, and produces wines with medium to high levels of tannins and acidity. Moderate climate Syrah or Shiraz is typically medium in body with fresh black fruit flavors like black cherry and blackberry, herbal notes, and black pepper aromas. This is the signature style of the Northern Rhone, where it is known as Syrah. A warm climate Syrah/Shiraz is typically full-bodied and high in alcohol with ripe flavors of cooked black fruits and licorice. This riper style is common in the warmer parts of Australia, where the wines are known as Shiraz. Outside of France and Australia, the use of one name over the other can give the consumer an idea of which style the wine has been made in. Syrah Shiraz is responsible for many very high-quality single varietal wines, but is also used to add color, black fruit flavors, and tannins to blends. It is most commonly blended with grapes that are local to the southern Rhone, such as Grenache. These wines are sometimes referred to as Rhone blends, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Oak maturation is common in the production of Syrah/Shiraz. It is used both to soften the tannins of the wine and to add flavors of smoke and spice. Very good or outstanding wines from Syrah/Shiraz are often suitable for bottle aging due to their intense flavors and tannins. For the finest examples, this aging period can extend to a decade or more. Over time, dried fruit flavors emerge, as well as notes of leather, meat, and earth. Leather, meat, and earth. Let's just really hear that, okay? Leather, meat, and earth. Just saying. Important regions for Syrah/Shiraz. Northern Rhone. The Northern Rhone is a classic region for Syrah, which is the only black grape variety permitted in the AOC wines of the region. Northern Rhone is the northern part of the broader Rhone Valley, which follows the Rhone River down to the Mediterranean. The Northern Rhone, the river valley is very narrow, and the best vineyards are planted on steep slopes. The climate here is moderate, but grape ripening is aided by aspect. Many of the vineyards are so steep that machinery cannot be used. Vineyard work must be done by hand, which makes these wines expensive to produce. Côte Rôtie AOC, is in the far north of the Northern Rhone and represents the northern limit of where Syrah will successfully ripen. Exceptionally steep, stony slopes produce complex and peppery Syrah that has the potential to develop for many years in the bottle. There is a tradition to co-ferment a small amount of Viognier with the Syrah, which can add floral aromas to the wine, though this is not practiced by all producers. Further south, there's another high-quality appellation known as Hermitage AOC. One steep, south-facing slope makes up the entire Hermitage appellation. Surrounding the hill of Hermitage is a larger, flatter appellation known as Crozes Hermitage AOC. Its wines are generally less intense and complex than those of Côte-Rôtie and Hermitage, but prices are typically lower due to higher yields and the relative ease with which the vineyards can be mechanized. Okay, that actually makes me feel better about a wine I tasted recently that I did not love a lot from Crozes Hermitage. Languedoc-Roussillon. The warm climate of Languedoc-Roussillon means that Syrah can ripen reliably. It is often blended with other grape varieties in the region's appellation wines, such as Minervois AOC, or it can be found as a single varietal wine under the Pays d'Oc IGP. In Australia, by far the largest plantings of this variety outside of France are in Australia, where it is known as Shiraz. It is the most widely planted grape variety in Australia. A large amount of the plantings are concentrated in Australia's warm inland regions, where grapes are mostly used for inexpensive high-volume brands labeled Southeastern Australia. However, the warm Barossa Valley region in South Australia is home to some of the world's oldest Shiraz vines. They produce low yields of very concentrated fruit. The resulting wines are full-bodied with high, ripe tannins, cooked black fruit flavors like blackberry and black cherry, black pepper, and often flavors from oak like vanilla and coconut. With its relatively northerly latitude, the Hunter Valley region in New South Wales experiences very hot summers but high cloud cover and sea breezes during the summer months. Oh, that is a fucking sentence. With its relatively northerly latitude, the Hunter Valley region in New South Wales experiences very hot summers, but high cloud cover and sea breezes during the summer months slow the ripening of the grapes. Hunter Valley Shiraz is typically medium-bodied with medium to high tannins and fresh black fruit flavors. These wines develop complex flavors of earth and meat with bottle age. Australian Shiraz is most often made as a single varietal wine. However, it is also common to see Shiraz used in blends with other varieties such as Cabernet Sauvignon and Grenache. Just a couple of label examples. Syrah and Shiraz's broad appeal is perhaps rooted in its ability to produce fresh fruit-scented styles that, while also satisfying continued demand for full-bodied red wines with cooked fruit flavors. It is identifiable and intense peppery character. Its identifiable and intense peppery characters have made it a popular choice for pairing with highly flavored dishes. Though Australia is best known for concentrated full-body Shiraz, producers across the country are producing an increasingly diverse range of styles, some even using it to produce sparkling red wines. I've had some. They're not actually bad. Some of them are pretty good. Outside of France and Australia, plantings have increased significantly in many wine-producing countries, where producers are experimenting with Syrah, Shiraz in various different styles and across all quality levels. There's Syrah, in fact, in Washington and also in Oregon. And some of it is pretty well made. All right, we're done with Syrah. We're on to Gamay. Gamay is an unusual grape variety because it has achieved a global popularity, even though the wines made from Gamay come almost exclusively from one region, Beaujolais. Gamay is a black grape variety that produces wines with high acidity, low to medium tannins, and red fruit flavors like raspberry, red cherry, and red plum. Wines made from Gamay are usually produced in inert vessels and rarely display aromas from oak, which, by the way, this is a red wine. No oak. The most important region for Gamay is Beaujolais in France, a moderate climate region directly to the south of Burgundy. Winemakers here commonly use techniques that maximize color extraction while minimizing tannin extraction. These techniques can create aromas of banana and candy. Beaujolais wines are usually light to medium bodied with low to medium tannins and red fruit flavors. Wines from Cru appellations are the most concentrated and structured wines of the region. Very good examples typically have medium to pronounced red fruit aromas like red cherry, raspberry, and red plum, and a medium to long finish. Wines from Beaujolais are sometimes served lightly chilled to emphasize the freshness of their delicate red fruit flavors. Most are intended for immediate consumption and quickly lose their fresh fruit flavors over time in the bottle. So there's Beaujolais AOC. At the base lies Beaujolais AOC. These are, can be produced from anywhere in the Beaujolais region. mostly from flat, fertile vineyards to the south. High-yielding vines here produce the lightest bodied and simplest wines. Then there's Beaujolais Village AOC. A collection of villages in the north of the region have been awarded the status. Sloped vineyards permitting greater exposure to the sun and warm, well-drained soils aid grape ripening. These wines typically offer greater flavor, intensity, and body. And then there's Beaujolais Cru. Beaujolais Cru. Within the Beaujolais Village area, 10 crus have been awarded their own appellation. One of the best known is Fleury AOC. One which are still intended for early drinking. Some of the cru wines are able to develop in the bottle. That's all that Gamay has. That's everything about Gamay. Is a page of text. That is Gamay for this level. Not a lot about it. Although it is, it's less produced. It's one region. We're now on to Garnacha. This grape variety is thought to have evolved in Spain, where it is called Garnacha. From there, it spread through the south of France and into the Rhone Valley. Once in France, its name changed to Grenache, and this is the name that is most commonly used in the rest of the world. That's insulting. Grenache is a black grape variety that needs a warm climate to ripen successfully. When ripe, Grenache grapes typically have high levels of sugar and low acidity. It is a thin-skinned variety, and its wines are typically low to medium in tannins and have red fruit flavors like strawberry, red plum, and red cherry, and sometimes spice like white pepper and licorice. Grenache produces its finest wines when yields are carefully controlled. Due to its red fruit flavors, Grenache is commonly used to make rosé wines using the short maceration method. These wines can range from dry to medium in sweetness and are typically intended to be consumed chilled while young and fruity. Grenache is often blended with other black varieties such as Syrah in France and Tempranillo in Spain. These varieties add color, acidity, and tannins to Grenache-based wines. Many simple Grenache-based wines are unoaked, but very good or outstanding quality wines are often matured in barrels to add flavor complexity. Some producers favor old oak over new, due to Grenache's delicate red fruit flavors. Over time in the bottle, Grenache can develop complex flavors of earth, meat, and dried fruit. Alright, so here's some important regions. First, we've got Southern Rhone. Grenache is an important grape in the Southern Rhone in France. The Southern Rhone is quite different from the Northern Rhone in terms of its climate, aspect, and grape varieties. Here, the valley flattens out, and the climate is warm due to the southerly latitude. Grenache is able to ripen successfully here. Red wines from the Southern Rhone are typically blends of Grenache with multiple local grape varieties, including Syrah. So like Grenache, Syrah, Mourvedre. Mourvedre is a GSM, which is a Côte du Rhône red blend. It's like a pretty common 3-grape blend. An old vine in Châteauneuf-du-Pape. The large stones, typical of the area, are very clear to see. The least expensive wines are typically simple, medium-bodied wines with red fruit and white pepper flavors labeled Côte du Rhône AOC. Wines labeled Côte du Rhône Village AOC may offer a higher level of concentration and complexity. My favorite region, because of the name, Châteauneuf-du-Pape. Châteauneuf-du-Pape AOC is known for full-bodied wines with high alcohol levels. Many of the vineyards here are covered with large round stones that absorb heat during the day and radiate it back into the vines at night. This helps Grenache to achieve full ripeness. Very good or outstanding examples can develop complex flavors of dried fruit, earth, and meat with bottle age. Interesting. Languedoc-Roussillon and Provence. Grenache is an important variety for both red and rosé wines from the south of France. One of the most important appellations for red wines in Languedoc-Roussillon is Minervois AOC. Grenache ripens well in this warm climate and provides red fruit flavors and body to blends with other local grape varieties, including Syrah. Provence is located to the east of Languedoc-Roussillon. The region is best known for its dry, pale-colored rosé wines, with the majority of which come from Côte de Provence AOC. Grenache is often a key part of the blend alongside other local grape varieties. Labeling in the Rhone Valley. Region is divided into 2 distinct parts, northern and southern. The same labeling hierarchy exists across the whole Rhone, similar to that of Beaujolais. So there's Côte du Rhône Village, and then Rhone Cru. A small number of the most prestigious vineyard areas in the Rhone Valley have been granted their own appellations. These are known as crus. The Rhone Cru are located in both the northern Rhone, like Crozes-Hermitage, Côte-Rôtie, and Condrieu, and the southern Rhone, e.g. Châteauneuf-du-Pape. The best of these wines offer outstanding complexity. In Spain, Grenache is known as garnacha. In Spain, it contributes body and fresh red fruit to wines from Rioja, DOCA, the neighboring region of Navarra, DO, where it is also known for making dry rosé wines. The most powerful and full-bodied of Spain's garnacha-based wines can be found in Priorat, DOCA, in Catalonia. This warm, dry area is home to some very old garnacha vines that produce tiny yields of concentrated grapes. These wines are typically blended with other black grape varieties and can mature for extended periods, developing flavors of dried fruits and caramel in the bottle. Caramel in a wine? Okay, anyway. Australia. South Australia's warm Barossa Valley and McLaren Vale regions are home to many very old Grenache vines. These vines can produce outstanding wines with concentrated red fruit and spice flavors and long aging potential. Grenache is also used in blends with Shiraz and other varieties. These wines can be similar in style and quality to the wines of Châteauneuf-du-Pape. AOC. It's so fun to say, Châteauneuf-du-Pape. Quality-focused producers in Australia have been very influential in promoting Grenache as a high-quality varietal. And you know what? Grenache is a polar. Like, some people really hate Grenache, and some people really love Grenache. But like, Grenache, when done well, is so good. We're on to Tempranillo. Tempranillo is Spain's most prized black grape variety and is a key component of many of the country's most famous red wines. Wines made from Tempranillo are typically medium to full-bodied and have medium acidity and medium levels of tannins. They often have red fruit flavors like strawberry and red cherry, and black fruit flavors like blackberry and black plum. Tempranillo is a versatile grape that makes a range of dry red wines from simple, fruity, and inexpensive to ripe, complex, and age-worthy. For wines intended for long-term aging, small proportions of other grape varieties are sometimes blended into increase acidity and tannins. It is traditional in many parts of Spain to mature Tempranillo-based wines in small new oak barrels. The oak imparts complex secondary flavors like vanilla, smoke, and cedar into the wines, as well as softening tannins. It is also common for winemakers to age their best wines for a period of time in bottle before releasing them onto the market. Very good or outstanding quality Tempranillo can develop complex tertiary flavors of mushroom, leather, and dried fruit in the bottle. Spain's broad Catalonia DO produces high volumes of Tempranillo and Tempranillo-based blends. Styles vary from simple and fruity to powerful and oak-aged. The most famous Tempranillo-based wines in Spain come from the moderate climate region of Rioja, DOCA, and northeast Spain. Rioja is most commonly a blend of grape varieties, with Tempranillo dominating in the best wines. It is sometimes blended with garnacha in wines intended for early drinking, and with other local grape varieties that produce tannin and acidity for wines intended for long-term aging. The labeling terms Crianza, Reserva, and Gran Reserva relate to the required aging periods before wines are released for sale. Crianza wines are aged for the shortest period of time, and Gran Reserva wines for the longest. Note that these are national Spanish labeling terms and are not specific to Rioja, DOCA. Very good and that's actually pretty interesting. Hang on. Crianza, Reserva, and Gran Reserva are not only Rioja. Okay. Very good and outstanding wines can also be found further inland at the high-altitude Ribera del Duero, DO region. Here, warm days and cool nights allow Tempranillo to produce very full-bodied wines with fresh black fruit flavors. Cool. Labeling. Tradition for aging wines in oak barrels and sometimes in bottle prior to release. 4 labeling terms are used to reflect the style and quality of the wine. Joven, Crianza, Reserva, and Gran Reserva. Joven wines are typically young, fruity wines, not subject to minimum aging requirements, and are typically released in the year following the vintage. Primary fruit flavors derived from the grape varieties used. And these wines are termed generico, like generic, in Rioja. Crianza. The Crianza wine must be aged in oak barrels prior to release. During this time, it will gain secondary oak-derived flavors, vanilla, smoke, and coconut, alongside its primary fruit flavors. Reserva. Reserva wines must age for extended periods of time before release, both in oak barrels and in bottle. Over time, the tannins in red wines soften and some of the fresh fruit flavors become cooked or dried in character. The final wines have complex layers of primary fruit flavors, secondary oak-derived flavors, and tertiary notes like dried fruit and mushrooms. It is important to note that the quality of the grape... Gran Reserva. Gran Reserva wines are subject to the highest minimum aging requirements and typically have the most pronounced secondary and tertiary aromas. So, okay, fair enough. A note on quality. It is important to note that the quality of the grapes plays an important role in determining the style of wine that can be made. Only wines with sufficient flavor intensity, acidity, and in red wines, tannin, result in a wine that tastes stale, are suitable for long-term aging. Putting an inferior quality wine through an extended aging process will result in a wine that tastes stale and lacking in fruit. A producer may choose not to make a Gran Reserva in vintages that produced grapes of insufficient quality. Fair enough. Carmenere, Malbec, and Pinotage. Each one of these black grape varieties is closely associated with one specific wine-producing nation, Chile, Argentina, and South Africa, respectively. While each of these countries has achieved success with wines made from more well-known grape varieties, these regional specialties provide a point of difference in the crowded global wine market and have contributed to the identity of the wine-producing countries in which they are most widely grown. Carmenere. Carmenere is a black variety that is widely grown in Chile. It is native to Bordeaux, but is rarely found there now. It needs a long, sunny growing season to ripen successfully. Even in Chile, it can struggle to ripen in all but the warmest and sunniest sites of the Central Valley. If harvested when the grapes are not fully ripe, Carmenere produces wines with pungent herbaceous characters such as green bell pepper and tomato leaf. When ripe, it gives wines with fresh black fruit flavors like blackberry. A typical Carmenere is deeply colored with medium to high acidity, high tannins, and a full body. It is often matured in oak barrels to soften its tannins and add flavors like coffee and chocolate. Very good or outstanding examples can develop tertiary flavors like leather and earth. It can be found as a single varietal wine, though it is more commonly found as part of a blend with other varieties such as Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot. On to Malbec. Malbec is Argentina's most important black grape variety. Like Carmenere, Malbec is native to southwest France, but has adapted well to the warmer South American climate. It is grown widely in Argentina, but the majority of plantings are in the high-altitude region of Mendoza. Malbec typically produces deeply colored, full-bodied wines with high tannins and flavors of black fruits like blackberry and black plum. Maturation in new oak lends softness and spicy flavors like clove and vanilla. In the bottle, very good or outstanding examples can develop flavors of dried fruit and meat. It is common to blend Malbec with Cabernet Sauvignon or Merlot, but it is also frequently seen as a single varietal wine. On to Pinotage. Unlike Carmenere and Malbec, which are French in origin, Pinotage was developed specially for the warm and dry climate of South Africa. It is closely related to Pinot Noir and produces wines with similar red fruit flavors like strawberry, raspberry, and red cherry. It is grown throughout the Western Cape. Its wines typically have medium tannins and high acidity. The styles of wine it produces range from fruity, medium-bodied wines with red fruit flavors, strawberry, red cherry, to powerful, full-bodied examples with concentrated red and black fruit flavors like red plum and blackberry. If produced in contact with oak, Pinotage can take on pronounced aromas of coffee, chocolate, and smoke. It can be found as a single varietal wine or as part of a blend with other grape varieties such as Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot. These blended wines are commonly referred to as Cape blends, like Cape Town. Now we're getting into weird ones. Cortese, Garganega, Verdicchio, and Fiano. Italy is home to many hundreds of grape varieties, many of which are only grown in one region. A few have become particularly famous for the distinctive and unique wines that they produce. This chapter focuses on 4 Italian white grape varieties that are each of local importance in particular regions. Cortese. Cortese produces dry, light-bodied white wines with high acidity. They display light floral aromas of blossom and flavors of green fruit like apple and pear and citrus like lemon. Cortese is best known as the variety used in the wines of Gavi, DOCG, in the Piemonte region of northwest Italy. Gavi is typically fermented in inert vessels and is not matured in oak. Most Gavi is ready to drink on release and is not intended to age. Next, we're on to Garganega. Garganega produces dry, medium-bodied wines with high acidity. Its wines have flavors of green fruit like apple and pear, citrus fruit like lemon, and stone fruit like peach. Garganega is widely planted in the Veneto region in northeast Italy and is the most important variety in the wines of Soave DOC and Soave DOC Classico. Soave is typically fermented in inert vessels and is not matured in oak. Most Soave DOC should be drunk while young and fresh. The best wines of Soave DOC Classico can gain complex flavors of honey and almonds in the bottle. Recioto di Soave DOCG is a sweet white wine made from grapes that have been harvested and dried using a method called appassimento, which is cool. Verdicchio. Verdicchio produces dry wines with high acidity, medium body, and flavors of green fruit like apple and pear, and citrus fruit like lemon, and herbal notes like fennel. Most wines labeled Verdicchio are simple, fruity, and not intended for aging. Outstanding examples can develop flavors of honey and nuts in the bottle, which I'm sensing a trend here. It is widely planted in central Italy, particularly in the Marche region on the east coast. The most famous wine from the Verdicchio grape is Verdicchio dei Castelli de Jesse, DOC. Not really clear what that is, but it seems to be like a specific castle, which happens more often than you'd think. This wine is from this castle, and that's it. Fuck you. Fiano. Fiano produces wines with medium acidity, medium to full body, and flavors of stone fruit like peach and tropical fruit like melon and mango. Many producers ferment Fiano in inert vessels, but some examples have secondary aromas from lees contact like bread and biscuit, or oak like smoke. It is often made to be drunk young, though some very good or outstanding examples can develop complex aromas of honey in the bottle. Fiano is an important white grape variety in southern Italy. Fiano di Avellino, DOCG, is a wine from the mountainous region of Campania. We're on a Nebbiolo, Barbera, and Corvina. Northern Italy's vineyard regions are located in the foothills of the Alps and on the flat plains of rivers. Many of the finest vineyard areas benefit from the protection of the mountains to the north and the broad variety of slopes and soils that they provide. The climate here is generally moderate. This chapter focuses on 3 important black grape varieties in northern Italy. I like these ones, by the way. Nebbiolo. Nebbiolo produces wines with high acidity and high tannins. Its wines have distinctive red fruit aromas like red cherry and red plum, as well as notes of dried herbs and sometimes floral characters like rose and violet. It is often matured for extended periods of time in oak to soften its high levels of tannin. Some producers choose to use old oak barrels. Others use new oak barrels instead in order to add new oak aromas to their wines. Nebbiolo's high acidity and high tannins means that its wines often improve with bottle age. Over time, the best examples gain complex tertiary aromas of mushrooms, tobacco, and leather. Nebbiolo is the only variety permitted in the wines of Barolo DOCG, perhaps the most famous wine of the Piemonte region in northwest Italy. The Barolo region is a horseshoe-shaped valley with steep south-facing vineyards. The wines are typically full-bodied with pronounced flavors, high levels of tannin and acidity, and long aging potential. The smaller region of Barbaresco DOCG lies to the northeast of Barolo DOCG. It makes similarly powerful and long-lived wines from Nebbiolo. Barbera. Barbera produces wines with high acidity and low to medium tannins. It gives aromas of red fruit, red cherries, red plums, and sometimes black pepper. Many Barbera wines are unoaked and fruity, while some producers mature their wines for a period of time in oak to add flavor complexity. As with Nebbiolo, Barbera is widely grown in the Piemonte region of northwest Italy. Barbera d'Asti DOCG is considered by many to produce Barbera's highest quality wines. Due to its lower tannin levels, Barbera is generally enjoyable to drink at a younger stage than Nebbiolo. Very good or outstanding wines can age, but generally wines from Barbera have a shorter aging potential than those from Nebbiolo. Lower tannins, so it doesn't preserve as well. Okay, last one for this chapter. Corvina. Corvina produces wines that are low to medium in tannins and high in acidity with red fruit flavors like red cherry and red plum. Corvina is the most important grape variety of Valpolicella in the Veneto region of northeast Italy. Corvina typically dominates the blend, though a number of other local grapes are permitted. A basic Valpolicella DOC is typically light-bodied, fruity, and quite simple in flavor. It is rarely matured in new oak and is intended to be consumed while young. Valpolicella DOC Classico comes from the hillier heartland of the region and typically has more body and complexity than a Valpolicella DOC. Appassimento is widely used in the Veneto region. It involves picking the grapes and drying them indoors to concentrate their sugars, acids, tannins, and flavors. Amarone della Valpolicella DOCG is a dry to off-dry red wine made from grapes that have been partially dried in this way. The result is a full-bodied wine with high alcohol, high tannins, and pronounced flavors of fresh fruit like red cherries and dried fruits like prunes, raisins, and figs. Very good and outstanding examples have the ability to age positively in bottle. Reciotto della Valpolicella DOCG is a sweet red wine made from partially dried grapes. These grapes have such concentrated sugars that the yeast cannot ferment them to dryness. I want to pause here for a second, because literally what that means is that the yeast ferments the wine to a high enough alcohol that it dies. And whatever sugar's left over at that point, where the yeast dies, is just left in the wine because there's no more yeast to ferment it. Crazy. Corvina grapes drying in crates after harvest. They will be used to produce Amarone or Reciotto. Labeling in Valpolicella. Yeah, pretty straightforward on that one. Okay, here's another fun one. Sangiovese, which is like Chianti Classico, and Montepulciano. Montepulciano is delicious if you can get a good one. Sangiovese and Montepulciano are the two most important black grape varieties of central Italy. They benefit from the warm climate here and are both capable of producing concentrated red wines. The Apennine Mountains run down the spine of Italy, dividing the western region of Tuscany, where Sangiovese dominates, from the Abruzzo to the east, where Montepulciano is widely planted. Sangiovese produces dry wines with high tannins, high acidity, and flavors of red fruits like red cherries and red plums and dried herbs. It is widely planted in Italy, but is most famous for producing the red wines of Chianti in central Tuscany. Sangiovese is the dominant variety here, but these wines are often blended with small amounts of other black grapes. Chianti DOCG covers a wide area in the foothills of the Apennine Mountains and produces wines of varied quality. Many wines that are labeled Chianti DOCG are simple and expensive and not intended for aging. Chianti Classico DOCG sits at higher altitude than the wider Chianti DOCG. The Sangiovese grapes enjoy a long ripening season. A typical Chianti Classico DOCG is medium-bodied and has pronounced red fruit aromas and dried herb notes. It will often be matured in oak to soften the tannins and add complex flavors of cloves and cedar. The best wines develop flavors of meat and leather in the bottle. Chianti Classico DOCG Reserva is subject to stricter aging requirements and may show some tertiary characters by the time it is released. Oh, I love Brunello di Montalcino DOCG. Is a powerful and full-bodied wine from the warm and sunny town of Montalcino in southern Tuscany. It has very high levels of tannin and acidity and must mature in oak for an extended period before release. These wines have very long aging potential in the bottle. Brunello is the local name for Sangiovese. Brunello is so good. It's also expensive, but it's so good. Labeling in Italy. In Italy, some wines are named after the region, while others are named after their grape variety and their region. Barolo DOCG, Barbaresco DOCG, and Valpolicella DOC are all examples of wines named after their region. Barbera d'Asti DOCG is an example of a wine using both grape variety and region. It means Barbera from Asti. In addition to Italy's PDO and PGI labeling terms, there are several other terms used to describe the style and quality of wine. Two of the most commonly seen terms are Classico and Reserva. Classico indicates that the wine has been made from grapes grown in the historic center of a region. Often located in the hilliest part of the region, it typically produce wines that are more concentrated in flavor. Reserva indicates DOC or DOCG wine that has been aged for at least a set number of months before release. Pretty simple there. Montepulciano. Montepulciano produces deeply colored wines with medium acidity, high tannins, and black fruit flavors like black plum and black cherry. It is best known for producing Montepulciano di Abruzzo DOC from the Abruzzo region in east central Italy. Abruzzo produces high volumes of inexpensive wine from Montepulciano, much of which is simple and fruity and typically for early drinking. More concentrated wines may be matured for a short time in oak. It's great. It's great table wine. Montepulciano di Abruzzo. Especially like pizza wine. Really good. Tomatoes and herbs and a Montepulciano di Abruzzo is fucking good. Okay. I'm taking a moment here. We are at page 111. And we only have to go to page 119. We have 8 pages left. We are now on to a section of the book that deals with sparkling wine and fortified wine. This is going to be pretty dense because they're grouping all of them together, and there's a lot going on here. They're very specific styles. That being said, once you know how fortified wines work, they're pretty, like, there's going to be different grapes and different methods used, but they're pretty standardized processes. Same with sparkling. There's going to be slightly different regional styles, but like the ideas tend to be pretty similar. So 8 pages to go. Sparkling wines. I'm going to smoke. Hang on. Okay. Sparkling, here we come. Sparkling wines. The bubbles in sparkling wines are created by dissolved carbon dioxide gas. They can be added by pumping carbon dioxide through a wine, but most premium quality sparkling wine producers harness the CO2 that is naturally created as a byproduct of fermentation. Sparkling wines are most commonly produced using one of 2 methods, bottle fermentation or tank fermentation. The base wine. The first step in producing nearly all styles of sparkling wine is to make a base wine. It is typically dry, high in acidity, and low in alcohol. The base wine is usually a blend of different wines. These can be from different vintages, varieties, and/or vineyards. Second fermentation. The CO2 that makes the bubbles in most sparkling wines is a byproduct of a second fermentation. To instigate the second fermentation, sugar and yeast are added to the dry base wine. The yeast converts the sugar into alcohol and CO2. The alcohol that is created, it brings the ABV of the wine up by around 1.5%. To stop the CO2 from escaping, the second fermentation must take place in a sealed vessel. This is typically either a sealed bottle fermentation, or a sealed tank fermentation. The choice of vessel will depend on the style and flavor profile desired, as well as regional traditions or regulations. Bottle fermentation. The traditional method. There are a number of variants on bottle fermentation, but the most common and highly regarded method is the traditional method. It is practiced throughout the world, but is most famously used in the production of both champagne and cava. Sugar and yeast are added to the base wine, and in champagne it's called dosage, which is bottled and sealed with a crown cap. The second fermentation takes place inside the sealed bottle, and CO2 dissolves within the wine, creating bubbles. This technique also adds flavor to the wines. More details about how this method works can be found in the illustrated section, the traditional method, which is just below. All wines labeled with the term traditional method or method traditionnelle have been made using this method. Bottle fermentation not only adds CO2 to a wine, but it also adds extra flavors. However, the winemaker must remove the sediment of yeast from the bottle. So second fermentation and yeast autolysis. The base wine, yeast, and sugar are added to a bottle which is sealed with a crown cap. The bottle is stored on its side, and the second fermentation gets underway, adding carbon dioxide and a little extra alcohol to the wine. Once the second fermentation is complete, the yeast forms a sediment of lees in the bottle. Over time, the lees start to break down, a process known as yeast autolysis. The characters that the lees impart to the wine, biscuit, and bread, give bottle-fermented sparkling wines their autolytic flavor profile. The number of months or years that the wine spends in contact with the lees determines the intensity of these autolytic flavors. So, as an example, we make a method champenoise, a traditional method, blanc de blanc, 100% Chardonnay, which undergoes a second fermentation and extended tirage, which is sitting on lees for 4 years. It sits on lees, at which point it picks up quite a lot of autolytic flavors of like a brioche sweetness, like a bready sweetness. Riddling. Before the wine is sold, the lees must be removed as they would otherwise make the wine hazy. The aim of riddling is to move the deposit of lees into the neck of the bottle. The bottle is moved very slowly from a horizontal to an inverted vertical position, allowing the lees to slide gradually into the neck. Riddling was traditionally done by hand, but today it is mostly automated using a gyro pallet, a cube-shaped machine that can process hundreds of bottles at a time. Disgorgement removal. Once riddled, the neck of the bottle is frozen, and the lees are trapped in a plug of ice. When the crown cap is removed, the pressure created by the dissolved CO2 forces the plug of ice and lees out of the bottle. Before it is resealed, the wine is topped up with a mixture of wine and, usually, sugar. Oh. Never mind. This is dosage. So the second fermentation is pre-dosage. My bad. This mixture is known as the liqueur d'expédition. The process of adding this mixture is known as dosage. The term dosage is also used to mean the amount of sugar that is added at this stage. The dosage determines the final sweetness of the wine. Most wines made in this way are labeled brut. For wines labeled brut, a very small amount of sugar is added, but the wine tastes dry due to the high acidity and lively bubbles in the wine. The term demi-sec indicates medium sweetness. The liqueur d'expédition contains more sugar for these wines. Resealing. Once topped up, the bottle is resealed with a thick cork and a wire cage. Okay, so secondary fermentation is yeast and sugar. Dosage is only sugar getting re-added. Bottle fermented sparkling wines. Champagne AOC is a famous traditional method sparkling wine from northern France. The base wine for Champagne is typically a blend of 3 varieties: Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Pinot Meunier. The climate in Champagne is cool. This provides ideal conditions for creating a base wine with low alcohol and high acidity. To achieve consistency, most champagnes are a blend of base wines from several vintages. These wines are referred to as non-vintage. The least expensive champagnes usually spend the legal minimum amount of time aging on their lees, which is only 12 months, 1 year. They are dry with high acidity, notes from apple, and light autolytic flavors. More interesting wines are typically made from riper grapes and will be aged for longer in contact with lees. A very good quality champagne has complex flavors of green fruit, apple, and citrus fruit, lemon, and autolytic notes like toasted bread and biscuit. In exceptional years, a portion of the best grapes are used to create a vintage champagne. These wines are particularly complex and are aged in contact with lees for a long period, followed by extended bottle aging after disgorgement. They combine pronounced apple, citrus fruit, and autolytic characters with notes of nuts and honey from bottle age. These wines are produced in small quantities and command very high prices. Cava. Cava is the Spanish term for traditional method sparkling wine produced in certain regions of Spain. The vast majority of cava comes from the Catalonia region. The grape varieties used to make cava are mainly local Spanish varieties, although Chardonnay and Pinot Noir are also permitted and can add both fruit flavors and acidity to the base wine. Catalonia's warm climate means that the grapes may need to be harvested early to retain high acidity. The base wine typically has light flavors of apple and lemon. After secondary fermentation, most cava is aged on its lees for a shorter amount of time than champagne and has very subtle autolytic characters. Cava production is dominated by a small number of large brands who make high volumes of simple, non-vintage wines. However, there are many smaller producers making very good quality cavas that are aged in contact with lees for extended periods. South Africa, USA, Australia, and New Zealand. In all of these places, there are important producers of bottle-fermented sparkling wines. Usually it is the coolest regions that produce the highest quality sparkling wines. Many producers choose to use the Champagne grape varieties, Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, for their base wines. The best examples are intense and complex with a long finish. They typically have slightly riper fruit flavors than Champagne due to the extra sunlight and warmth in the vineyards. In South Africa, the labeling term Cap Classique is used to signify a traditional method sparkling wine. Sometimes the Champagne grapes are used, other times they may use other varieties, such as Chenin Blanc. Tank fermentation. Tank method dry wines. Tank method can be used if the winemaker does not wish to add autolytic flavors to their wine. This may be the case if the base wine is made from aromatic grape varieties. The process is relatively simple. The base wine is put into a sealed tank along with yeast and sugar. Second fermentation takes place in the tank, creating bubbles. The lees are removed by filtration, and the wine is bottled under pressure and sealed with a thick cork and a wire cage. The result is a wine that still tastes predominantly of the base wine without any autolytic character. This method is significantly less expensive and labor-intensive than bottle fermentation. There's also the Asti method for sweet wines. This is a variation on the tank method. It is commonly referred to as the Asti method, as it is used to make the sweet, low-alcohol sparkling wines of Asti, DOCG, and Piemonte in northwest Italy. However, this method is used around the world to make wines in a similar style. This method does not begin with a dry base wine. Instead, juice is put into a pressurized tank with yeast and begins to ferment. At first, the CO2 created is allowed to escape. Partway through the fermentation, the tank is sealed so that the CO2 is retained, creating bubbles. The fermentation is stopped by filtering out the yeasts before all the sugar has been converted to alcohol. The resulting wine is low in alcohol, sweet, and sparkling. Then you've got tank fermented sparkling wines. Prosecco DOC is a sparkling wine from northeast Italy. It is typically made using the tank method. The grape variety used to produce the base wine is Glera. Glera is a white variety that produces light to medium bodied wines with pear, melon, and floral aromas, like blossoms. Prosecco DOC is typically dry or off-dry. It comes in both white and rosé styles. The rosé wines are made predominantly from Glera, with a small proportion of Pinot Noir to give the pink color. Asti DOCG is a sweet, fruity, and light-bodied wine from Piemonte. It is made with the Moscato Muscat grape variety that gives pronounced floral aromas and flavors of grapes, peaches, and pears. Asti DOCG is usually fully sparkling. That's interesting. I usually think of Asti as being like Moscato d'Asti. I think of as being more like effervescent, like fizzy, not sparkling. Anyway, tank fermented sparkling wines are widely produced across the world. A popular trend is the production of fully or lightly sparkling wines from the Moscato Muscat grape. These wines are typically sweet and low in alcohol, made using the Asti method. So, lightly sparkling wines would be effervescent. Labeling for sparkling wines. Champagne is one of the few EU wines that do not have to mention its PDO status on the label. Therefore, unlike other French labels, you will never see Appellation Champagne Contrôlé on a champagne label. Another notable wine that is also exempt is Cava. Many sparkling wines and champagnes are non-vintage. Vintage sparkling wines, such as this one, typically have a higher price compared to the non-vintage wine from the same producer. We do always vintaged. We have good Chardonnay growth for it. Okay, we're on to fortified wines, down to the last 3 pages. Sherry and port are fortified wines, which means that additional alcohol is added to the wine. Traditionally, fortification was used to strengthen wine to protect it from spoilage. All port is sweet, as it is made by interrupting the fermentation using fortification. Most sherry is made in a dry style, but it is sometimes sweetened later on. Both sherry and port are made in a range of diverse styles. Sherry production. Sherry is a fortified wine produced around the town of Jerez de la Frontera, who, by the way, when I went to Spain for that wedding earlier this year, that is because my cousin-in-law is from Jerez de la Frontera, and we drank a lot of sherry, and it was really good. It was really fucking good. There are many styles, but the starting point for almost all sherry is a simple dry base wine made from Palomino, a local white grape variety. Once fermentation is complete, alcohol is added to fortify the wine before it enters the Solera system. A Solera system is Solera is a system of old oak casks containing wines of different ages. The wines are continually blended together as they age, ensuring a consistent and complex style of mature wine. It is in the Solera that sherry develops its various distinctive flavors. Sherry styles. The dry sherry styles. The 3 most important styles of dry sherry are Fino, Oloroso, and Amontillado. They are distinct from one another, largely due to different aging periods and conditions within the Solera. Fino sherry ages under a thick white layer of yeast known as flor. This method of aging under a layer of flor is known as biological aging. The base wine is fortified to around 15% ABV before it enters the Solera. The floor forms on the surface of the wine and protects it from oxygen. A Fino is typically pale lemon in color with aromas of apple, almonds, and pronounced flavors derived from the floor, like bread dough. After bottling, these wines rapidly lose their freshness and should be consumed as early as possible. Fino Sherry is best served cold. Oloroso Sherry production does not involve floor. Instead, the dry base wine is fortified to around 17% ABV, a strength at which the floor cannot survive. Without the floor's protection, the wine ages oxidatively in contact with oxygen. Over time, the wine becomes brown in color and develops flavors of dried fruits like raisins, prunes, and notes of deliberate oxidation like walnuts and caramel. Then there's Amontillado Sherry, is somewhere between a Fino and an Oloroso Sherry in style. It ages under floor for a period of time before it is re-fortified to around 17% ABV. This kills the floor and allows the wine to age oxidatively until it is bottled. Amontillado sherries are notably deeper in color than Finos and have flavors both from floor, like bread dough, and from oxidative aging, like walnuts and caramel. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. So right there, that white layer on top of that wine in the barrel, that is what they're talking about when they say floor. It's a layer of yeast that sits between the wine and the oxygen in the barrel. Sweet sherry styles. Dry sherries can be sweetened with a sweetening component, but must be labeled with a different or supplementary term to signify this. We're on the last 2 pages. The term pale cream signifies a sweetened Fino. The terms medium and cream are often used for sweetened Amontillado or Oloroso sherries. PX, Pedro Jimenez, is a sweet sherry made from white Pedro Jimenez grapes that have been concentrated by sun drying. The wine is fortified and aged oxidatively in the Solera. The resulting wine is deep brown in color, sweet with pronounced dried fruit flavors like fig, prune, raisin, licorice, and molasses. Pedro Jimenez sherry is often used as the sweetening component in cream sherries. Wow. We're done with sherry. Now we're moving on to port. Port is a sweet fortified wine produced from grapes grown in the Upper Douro region of Portugal. It is made from a blend of local black grape varieties. Most ports are blends of wines from several vintages. All port follows the same basic winemaking process. After the harvest, the first step is to rapidly extract color and tannin from the skins of the grapes. Traditionally, this is done by foot treading, though machines now exist for this purpose. Fermentation is interrupted by adding grape spirit. This kills the yeast, which stops the fermentation and results in a wine that is sweet and high in alcohol. The wine is then matured for a period of time prior to blending and bottling. As with sherry, the maturation process plays an important role in determining the different styles of port. Here are the different styles of port. Thank you for the bit, by the way, Mufasa. I am reading the last 60 pages of my wine education textbook because my school starts tomorrow. It's only 3 days long, and I'm supposed to have finished the book by tomorrow at 9 a.m., so I'm on the last page. I promise I'll be done soon. And hi, I hope you're well. Port styles. So you're going to learn about the different styles of port. And there's only 3. So it's not like it's a crazy big section. But here we go. Ruby style ports. Ruby style ports are deeply colored and fruity. After fortification, they spend a period of time aging in large vessels before they're bottled, ready to drink. The traditional vessels are large old oak casks, though stainless steel tanks are sometimes used. Ruby-style wines typically have flavors of cooked black fruits like black cherry and blackberry. Inexpensive ruby ports are generally sweet, simple, fruity wines with lower tannins than any other ruby-style ports, and often some red fruit character alongside the black fruits. Reserve ruby ports use better quality wines with greater flavor intensity. They're sometimes matured for longer than ruby ports to soften and integrate the added alcohol. Late bottled vintage LBV port is similar in style to a reserve ruby, but contains wines from a single vintage. All right. vintage port is made from the highest quality wines from a single exceptional vintage. It is high in tannins and has very concentrated flavors. It has the potential to mature in bottle for at least 20 years, and sometimes much longer. Over time, the color turns from ruby to garnet, and the wine develops complex tertiary aromas of dried fruit, leather, and forest floor. A thick deposit forms, and the wine needs to be decanted before serving. Vintage ports are not made every year, and port producers only declare a vintage port in the best years. And lastly, we have tawny port. Tawny-style ports are so called due to their tawny color. The best of these wines develop their color from extended oxidative aging in small barrels. Over time, the wine becomes more and more brown in color, and it develops complex notes of dried fruit and deliberate oxidation like walnut, coffee, and caramel. Wines made this way typically have an age indication of 10, 20, 30, or 40 years, but tawny ports aged for even longer can be found. However, inexpensive wines labeled tawny port are simple, fruity, low in tannin, and pale in color. We're onto the acknowledgements page. We're done. I've read the whole textbook now. I'm ready for class tomorrow. Was there a lot of surprising information there? No. Was there some? Yeah. Yeah, some. There was some. How are you, Muffy? I'm going to be honest. I'm only going to play maybe 3 games of Rocket League at this point, because that was 2.5 hours of reading wine stuff. And I'm tired now. I worked for 6 hours today, which like isn't a long time, but I also worked a 12-hour day yesterday, and I've been working all week, and I'm a little burnt out on wine, I got to be honest with you, which is great because I'm going to spend the next 3 days for 8 hours a day in class or taking tests about wine, which was my own choice, and it's my own fault. So, I had a long day myself working today. Everything all right? Oh yeah, it can't get worse than Diamond 2. Surely it can't get worse than Diamond 2. That's what I ranked in at. I lost like 5 out of 10 games, I think, maybe even 6. In fact, yeah, I think actually I lost more, like 7 out of 10 games. Which, to be clear, I was at like Diamond 3 before. So the fact that I was still in Diamond actually surprised me. I was kind of expecting them to be like, and Plat 2. But I guess they were kind. And I haven't warmed up at all, so we'll see how this goes. I'm going to guess not very well. Not a great start. Good save. I mean, we'll take it. We'll take it. And they seem to be getting upset with each other already, which, like, is good news for us. That is not great news for us. But we were lucky to have that teammate back, and who's still going for it off the wall. Work sucked, starting to get hot as fuck. Ended up leaving early though. It was hot here too, but like it's clearly like everybody has clearly been sitting inside their houses being like, why is it still fucking raining? It's June. And so everybody was out today making cocktails. And so like I was doing a tasting in a liquor store today and it was busy, which, you know, like, oh, I've been working all day. And like ultimately all I was doing was like pouring wine for people for free, which like there's worse jobs. But you know, it's like time getting prepared, putting out the banner, saying the same spiel 100 times. I'm sorry that it's getting so hot out. What are you doing for work these days? Because it's not the post office anymore. Why is it getting so hot at work?
But hey, at least I die with a full
Hey, thanks for the sub, 49. I've always wanted to die by sucking. I appreciate you keeping this burning for 72 fucking months. That's a long goddamn time to be subbed at fucking anything. It's a long time to be subbed to Amazon Prime. You know what I mean? Took his boost at least. It's 2-2. This is much closer than I wanted it to be. Oh, close. Oh, that's bad. It's not on. The nice little swoop around me, honestly. Wait, still the post office? I thought... Okay, well, yeah, then it getting hot at is not great. Not great. Oh, that was close. All right, so I guess we're not getting out of diamond 2. If anything, we're getting down to diamond 1. Yeah, man, the hot weather outside must be brutal. I am very lucky in the sense that I generally get to hang out inside in air-conditioned spaces for tasting wine. It's a real bonus to the gig, to be honest with you. It's a real bonus to the gig. Big double there. But they didn't turn it around very effectively. Smash is not going to get there. I'm not going to get there either. Maybe? Yeah, easy. I like how close that got. I don't like that it didn't go in. Oh, I missed. All right, teammate got there. Got up to 105 in the truck. That is so hot, dude. Not even in peak summer heat yet. Holy shnikes. That is a hot fucking truck. I mean, do they not have AC? You'd think that they'd have AC, no? Like it, right? Isn't that kind of reasonable? For like not dying in the truck? Which I'm assuming they prefer that you not do. Oh, terrible. Thank you for getting there, teammate. That was a bummer. It was a good pass, but it was a bummer. Yeah, it was a very good pass. You have a metal fan on the dash. Something tells me, Mufasa, that ain't gonna be enough. That's what it sounds like. That was a good play with the teammate. You got a good challenge there. Yeah, metal fan in 105. What are you just like pushing hot air at that point? It's not exactly fucking helpful. Ooh, that was a good challenge by player one. My God. But unfortunately got taken on that one. It helps more than you'd think. I only know because my fan went out once and boy was it twice as bad. Yeah, okay, I guess. I mean, like moving air is cooler than not moving air. Yeah, sure. And you're sweating either way, so like the moving air at least helps to like cool some of the sweat, which, you know, has got to feel at least a little bit better. It still seems like they should give you AC. If I'm being totally honest with you, Mufasa, that seems like a workplace hazard that the government should, or not the government, but like the USPS system should probably fix. Still feels like being smothered with a wet wool blanket, though. Oh, I believe it. Not only a boiling wet wool blanket, I think is probably how that feels. No? 105 is hot, dude. That's hot. That's like hot tub. That's like a hot tub. Going to the right. That was a double. Good take, teammate. Oh, he was trying on that demo. It's a big play by that guy. Good stop by the teammate. Another good stop. We're still putting pressure on. It's good. That guy does not give a fuck, though. Wow. He beat me there? No way. These guys are like just speedy enough to be a real problem. It was a good fake there by the teammate. That guy's going to try and get there and is too slow. Nice shot, teammate. Way to read that. It was good. It was a good play. Wow, what a save. Going to the left. That was a triple. Ooh, take your time, teammate. Take your time, teammate. Too much time, teammate. No. I thought he had jumped too far ahead, and I didn't realize. I was just trying to buy him time there, and it looks like it kind of worked. That would have been sweet. Ooh. Trying to hook it around him. He fucking saw it coming. Wow. And he got that past me. I wouldn't have said so. Good stop. If only that was a stronger pinch. Although he reads those and catches them. Wow, the double. It's mine. Normally I tough it out, but today wasn't that day. I don't know, toughing it out, dude, just sounds like actual hell. I don't know how to. I don't know how to console you on this one. It just sounds like an awful fucking situation that they won't fix for some reason. I don't know what to say, man. It just sounds like it sucks. Like, I would have been pissed to be outside with no AC or, like, anything today. And it was, like, it was 91 at one point today. 91. Which, like, yeah, in a hot car, you know, feels like... So, like, at the end of my day, I guess I drove home in hot weather like that kind of a thing. But, like, that's a 20-minute drive. That's not a whole day in that heat. That's crazy. I've got one more in me, and then I'm going to call it, because it'll be just after 11. I've got to be up for my class tomorrow morning, and I don't know, maybe I'll shower again tonight. I showered earlier today, but I sweat so much today, which I'm sure you can relate to. And so now, I don't know, I'm feeling kind of sticky. Not super sticky, but like sticky enough when I don't really want to go to bed. Feeling like it, you know? Oh, Simply Zone, please. Oh, good. That was a good stop. I like the attempt. I don't love that it didn't work, but I do like what he was looking for. Alright, unfortunate, but not the end of the world. We can keep pressure on with that. No, we can't. And I'm eating my jumps here in a bad way. We fucked those up. It's alright, we can make that up. I'm a 2-shower routine kind of guy at the moment. The news I got today. Oy. News I got today at work was worse than the heat, though, which is mainly why I left early. What was the news you got at work today? That was so... Oy. Was it work news or was it home news? You don't have to share if you don't want to, but... Holy shit, dude. That's... Yeah, leave early is right. What the fuck? Out of the blue? That's crazy. Awful. I'm sorry. Wow. That was my bed. Wow. I'm so sorry, man. I hope treatable. But I recognize that that is kind of the least probably reassuring thing, you know, because it's still, you know, it's still just treatment these days. I hope she has good medical care and medical professionals, and I hope that I hope that everything goes well from here on out in terms of treatment options and symptoms and side effects of treatment, and you know, there's a lot involved for sure. been having issues with her gallbladder and had it removed. The CT scan they had to do of her heart for that surgery showed masses in her lungs. From there, they did a scan that found more in her throat and pancreas. Working on biopsy to determine the rest. Wow. So actually the question is kind of bigger. Wow. That is a tough day at the doctor, my dude. It's important and good that she's getting biopsies done and that everything's going to get checked out. Yeah, both of my grandparents had some form of cancer, depending on what it was. And it was difficult. And I wasn't, and I'm not their children. I was a grandchild, which doesn't make it suck less. It just makes it maybe a little bit less direct in terms of, as a kid, I'd only known them for however many years I'd been alive, as opposed to my parents, who were much closer to them. And I would still say I was close with my grandparents, but it was hard, dude. And I'm glad that she has a loving family around her, as it sounds like you are. Because I think that is one of the most important things during something like this, like a diagnosis like this. It's having folks around you who really love you and care about you and will support you through it. And I'm trying to be hopeful in how I'm talking about it, because quite frankly, I think that's a good way to approach it. And the flip side is that I know that it probably doesn't necessarily help to hear me say these things. And I'm really sorry to hear it, man. I'm really sorry to hear it. To be honest, my parents had cancer. I'd ended all. Oh wow. Is Smosh, are you here? Are you in the stream right now? That's rough, dude. Some guy in my game just responded to what we were talking about as if he was in the stream. Are you here right now? Are you reading all this? It's honestly, it's. I have two fears about my parents because they're getting older. Yeah, that is a wild thing to say. I get that it's Rocket League and people talk smack, but that's a wild thing to just here you go. But two fears that I have about my parents. One is cancer. They do go to the doctors very frequently these days because they are getting older, and that's good. They need to be kind of watching their health for sure much more closely than they used to. But both sides of my family have a history of it, and so it's not a far-fetched idea that that's something they're going to have to deal with at some point in their old age, and that's going to be rough. The other one is Alzheimer's, and my mom's side particularly, I think, has a history of Alzheimer's. And again, I was probably 12 to 15 when my grandpa had issues with his memory and kind of needing some in-home care. And I think that one scares me really badly because you kind of lose your relationship with the person while they're still alive, and that's really hard. But I gotta say, man, both of those are fears for a reason, because those are tough things. And I just hope you're well, man. Because, wish I had good advice. But I think my advice has to be you know, take your time, listen to medical professionals. It's what happened with my grandma. She had glioblastoma and wasn't even the same person before she passed. Things like that really take a toll. And I remember particularly when I was young, I think I was kind of confused about it. And the other thing was, particularly with Alzheimer's too, is the early stages are kind of hard to catch if someone isn't around a lot. And I had very independent grandparents, and I have very independent parents in the sense that they like really are like on their own a lot. My parents aren't so old that that's a big concern for me, but they are. It's getting to a point where I start to worry about it sometimes. And particularly, like, both of them are very physically active and fit and everything in a way that, like, I sometimes worry that if they were to hurt themselves, they would just keep trying to act like they're fine. And in fact, it's kind of happened a few times, not in a major way, but in like minor ways. And I do wonder if some of the early symptoms from my mom's side really went kind of unnoticed because there was like physical distance between my grandparents and my parents' generation. So they just didn't see each other a lot, so a lot of it kind of, was like, oh, weird thing happened. Oh, okay. And like not really think about it. So I really do. I think glad at least that you're involved and like know what's happening and can be helpful and supportive, because I think that's a huge, huge part of illness generally like this. Man. Yeah, I think I am in a shower tonight. I think I am in a shower tonight. And I love you, Muffy. I do. I hope. No, it's funny. It's reminding me of sad things that are very unrelated, or not necessarily unrelated, but like, it's not like you're making me sad. I'm kind of making my own self sad, just like remembering. Because I was a young kid, and did not really have as much appreciation for like mortality. And I still, I'm 32, dude. It's not like I face my mortality every day, but I try to be more mindful of it these days, because I was born, my parents were older when they had kids, and I was the last kid. And so like my grandparents were pretty old by the time I was like cognizant and aware as a human being. And even then I was still young. So it's more of like it brings up memories and I think regrets for me. That I really like, I just didn't really understand what was going on in a way that I would have made different choices if I was a bit older and really understood the gravity of some of the things that were going on with their health at the time. But that's not I'm not going to project that onto you. That's, it sounds like you guys are hearing about it and you're going to make decisions on it, and, and you have a network of family that are going to be supportive, and that's good. So I'm just kind of, in my own place, For sure. With my grandma having cancer and now my mom, I'm definitely bringing that up in my yearly doctor visit next month. Do that. I smoked for a decade. My dad smoked for a decade and a half, maybe 2. My grandpa smoked for a long time, and lung cancer is pretty common on that side of the family. So that is going to be something I'm going to have to reckon with at some point. So, it's all medical history. It's all medical records. Do bring it up. It's a good thing to be aware of. And the more aware of it you are, the better you can prepare and the better you can avoid. So, or at least know what's available to you if it does happen. So, love you, buddy. And let's keep in touch. I don't know. I haven't done any charity streams, but maybe we work on a charity stream for supporting organizations. Because I actually, just thinking about this, it feels like that would be meaningful to me. And I'm not very good at organizing those things, but I'll give it some thought and try to see what I can come up with, because I think that would be meaningful to me. I do have to go sleep though. And please take an extra shower tonight. You deserve it. You're probably sticky as hell after 105 in your mail truck. I don't make the rules. Just prevent yourselves from having to wash your sheets tomorrow morning, yeah. Sleep well. And don't poop.